Forgot it was Pop Punk Week. This is Bennington. Gail, who did we start the show off with today?
That was MXPX, punk rock show. That song always puts me in a good mood.
Chris Stanley?
Yes.
Is that in your wheelhouse or not as much?
I haven't listened to a lot of MXPX.
I used to love them as a kid.
Because you're both pop punk guys, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like the pop punk.
I think you ought to just drop the punk part of it and get into the raspberries. Please go all the way.
Yeah, why
not?
You
like pop.
But I like the punk part, too.
Little of this, a little of that. You know what I mean? It's something for everybody.
I think you'd be happier with power punk or power pop. I don't know if there is power punk. There's so many subgenres you couldn't keep up with anything.
I know.
Anymore.
I think power punk is hardcore. I think that's what it would be.
Punk is a really funny one, too, because there are so many subgenres within punk, and they all seem to feud. Like hardcore.
Oh, they don't like each other?
Punk and, yeah.
And straight edge bands.
Well, that's me. I'm straight edge.
Yeah, that's you. You're edge.
Well, I'm late in life straight edge. I did everything before.
Right. Which is better than the opposite, because I had a lot of friends who have, like, X tattoos on their hands, and they're, like, at the bar, and they're like, this was my life when I was young.
Sad. You cared, didn't you?
See, it's better to go the opposite.
No, you're right about that. You're right to get your fun in before you act like fun's bad.
Yeah.
That's what every meeting should be. By the way, fun's bad. Look, let's just all admit to this. If it tastes good, smells good, feels good, you probably should not be doing it.
Because then I want to do it all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
To the point.
Let's keep this good happening.
Right. What you want is things that feel bad, taste bad, smell bad.
Yeah.
That makes life better. You'll live longer, but enjoy more of the bad things.
Yeah, you'll enjoy less, but you'll be around more.
No one's ever said this. Want to go out for some kale? And yet they tell us that's what our bodies desire. But you think your taste buds would fall in line with that.
Yeah, you would think that would be somehow a part of the way we evolved, is to think this is better for us, so our brains will tell us that we enjoy it more.
Well, that's the thing. You ever see when people go, like, listen to your gut, like in those blank moments and all that? And anything that immediately feels good to me or seems like a great thing, it's always me doing something wrong.
Yeah.
I have to stop my gut. I have to say, gut, don't.
No,
Remember what you've done before.
Don't forget brain.
Yeah. Slow down. I'm gonna run some tape of the past and see all the awfulness that came out of you getting your way.
Gut, don't you remember now?
Is there a single thing that tastes good to you that is good for you?
Oh, God.
I mean, to me, it's interesting that water doesn't have a taste. No one ever says, this tastes like water.
Oh, delicious water.
Its taste is refreshment. Like, I feel better now. I got some water.
If you think about the taste
But
of
isn't
water,
your mouth telling you that your body like, now you feel better.
but if you were to describe the taste of water, it's minerally. It's like almost like
sucking on a rock.
Rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A good well water, you can taste the rock in it.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. And they say a good well water could even have an odor.
Yeah, it can smell.
Stank.
Yeah, a little bit.
Sulfur water.
No, well, that's not good for you.
That
It's
dank.
sulfur, no.
That dank water. That skunk water.
But I think that you're smelling a little dirt and rock in there.
Yeah.
And probably dead animal. Probably dead animal bones.
Now, do you like things that taste like dirt? You know, like some things have like
That's an odd question.
But mineraliness, earthiness,
Like
some people like that in food, like things like mushroom and things like that.
Potato kind of has a dirt taste, you know?
It does, yeah. Potato is earthy.
Yeah.
I kind of hate mineral water, and I hate mushrooms.
Right.
But I do like potatoes. But I think if it's too earthy, it just...
Wait, you hate mushrooms?
I hate mushrooms.
Did you just say you hate water, too?
No, I hate mineral water. Mineral water
I know
is
people
disgusting.
who are like, say, oh, water. I just can't. Like when.
Yeah, my mom's mom says that she doesn't like the taste of water.
Now, here's the funny thing. If someone said to you, you have to drink 8 glasses of water a day, right? You're like, what? You're fucking nuts.
I know.
But you could easily drink 8 beers a day. Like,
Yeah.
It's nothing.
Oh, yeah.
As a
Doesn't
matter of
mean
fact,
anything.
you're disappointed when there's only 8 beers in a day.
You're like,
bullshit.
thought I was going to get some more beers in.
Trying to make something happen here.
Could you imagine, like, if you woke up one day and you said, did I drink 16 waters last night between the time of 9:30 and 3?
And not just little cups, pints of water.
I had a tall boy of water.
Oh, no wonder I've been pissing so much. And yet we will drink beers that way.
Oh, yeah, easily. Gladly. Preferably.
Although, Chris, the last time that you drank beer, you got drunk very, very quick.
Yeah.
I was thrown off. What were you drinking that day?
I think I was drinking, might have been Narragansetts.
Really?
Yeah,
you were here?
Yeah, I was here, yeah.
I was here. And, we were going to do that. Oh, please, let's have some fun. He just started getting obnoxious really fast. Like 2 drinks in.
It was bad. That's never happened to me. Where it's that quick.
That's a liver problem.
Right?
Oh, God.
That's the old liver giving out.
Stanley, I'm worried.
Oh, no.
You're going to need to eat some earthy foods.
Stanley needs a liver. Have a liver for sale. I was doing a Warren Zevon. You didn't even pick up for it. I was doing Jeannie Needs a Shooter.
Aren't you the Warren Zevon lover?
Yeah, he says. And then you're like, you ever hear Werewolves of London? No.
Really? You've never heard that song, Stanley?
What's that? It doesn't even sound like a Warren Zevon song.
Sounds made up.
I do love Warren Zevon myself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. People don't even set out to be piano players anymore, right?
No.
Ben Folds is probably the last guy.
It's like a dying breed.
Everybody get around me and my piano.
Yeah.
By the way, he's a Daryl South Stone. It's good.
Oh, did they, this was like a recent one?
Yeah. I thought you were going to check on that other thing for me instead of rating up numbers. You were going to check.
Oh, I'm still waiting for that to come in.
Okay. We'll do that. And don't ever show me that other thing again.
Never.
What were we talking about? Ben Folds?
Yeah. Ben Folds, Daryl's house.
Yeah, there's something about Ben Folds. I think he could have been a star at any time. Except for the time that he actually came out.
A mild star. But you're right. His sound, like, he has a great voice. He's a great piano player. He has an idea of how to write a good song. You know what I mean? Like, that's a person who would be successful in any decade, I would think.
This is very funny. But I just got a thing about a certain food thing that we already belong to who want to advertise with us.
What?
And want to change it around.
What?
That's very exciting.
That's super exciting.
You're over a year, right?
I am. Yeah, I'm a year and a half, actually. Year and a half. Loving every minute of it.
Is it Dollar Pizza? Is that it? Oh, wait, that's me.
That's you. That's your life. Loving every minute of it.
The big Dollar Pizza chain here in New York City, because there's a chain, got busted up, sued, and I believe is shutting down, which makes me sad. Because I recommend this place to people.
This is the one in Midtown?
No, it's one all over the city.
Oh,
it's
okay.
Downtown, Midtown, Uptown. It's a chain.
All the towns.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
What happened? What's the lawsuit here?
They weren't paying their employees.
Okay. So
It seems to be every single restaurateur gets hit with that. Doesn't matter how big or how little you are.
Well, I don't care what you're doing. Everybody is employing people, like illegal immigrants, and having people off the books. I don't think that restaurants could run in this city without
It's 100% true.
Because what you would have to pay for a meal if everybody was... And I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's the system, and we're all working under it.
That's the system that we've all been a part of for a long time.
Yeah.
We need immigrants for the farms and then the food once it gets prepared.
Yeah, and I think that people, they would complain about something like that, but on the flip side, they would complain like crazy if they realized how much it would cost them in order for a restaurant owner to make money. How much each dish would be pretty intense.
You ever notice that no big corporations ever say, "Oh, we do need that wall up between us and Mexico," because all the corporations use them.
Yeah, I don't think that we could run things without it. I mean, I'm sure people are doing it. Other countries, somebody's got this system, right? But we certainly don't. And I think it would be very hard to break us of that habit.
Yeah, we'd have to, like you said, do things differently. Let her know the address, the time. Okay? Thanks. It's very, very strange, like you said, that people go back and forth on these there's like a couple hot button issues that have been around my whole life. The abortion debate has been around my whole life. Honestly, the legalized marijuana thing has been around my whole life as well. I can't believe it's actually going in the other direction.
It's building.
It's not even building. It's the fact that it's happened at all is stunning, which immediately makes people go, well, what about the other drugs?
Right.
Is anybody really a criminal for taking drugs? And it's hard to say that they are. But a hot button thing of only probably the last 5 years is the vaccination deal.
Yeah, that has generated so much anger and frustration on both sides of that argument.
So many people have asked me about well, the reason why I bring it up is Jim Carrey came out against it, I think just on Twitter. Nowhere else. But he said on Twitter, some things. I happen to think Jim Carrey is one of the funniest people ever to live. I just think he's amazing.
Absolutely.
But the vaccination thing, I know nothing. When people go, what do you think of these nuts? I go, I don't know what side is nuts.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know whether you should or shouldn't.
Right.
You don't understand how little medical training I've had myself. You know what I mean? Let alone understand the biochemistry of the body.
Right.
I got a 0 on that. So, and then people say, well, do you think I should get my kid a vaccination? I'm like, I couldn't tell you. I mean, where are you on this thing?
Because I don't have kids, I think that I probably haven't researched it the way I would. I can tell you, I was vaccinated as a child. It seemed to work out for me. And I would hate to not vaccinate my kids and then be wrong that was the right thing to do.
I told you this before, though. I was with you one night that you had a shot for something, and your fever shot up.
Yeah.
To I'm not.
Was I very young?
No, you were like a baby. You were like holding a baby, can't have a conversation with baby. And it was like, we took you there, you got the shot, you cried. We went back to the house, and your mom split for some reason. I guess tired of my shit. No, I don't know what it was.
Right.
But I had you. And you're crying, and I'd pick you up, and it's just I had this hot, steaming thing. It's the heat of this baby's body.
Oh, God.
And I'm freaking out.
How could you not?
And it might have been small polio. So what happens is the vaccination is they give you a little bit of the disease.
Right.
Enough for your body to fight it off, and then your body knows how to fight that off forever. So when I'm calling, I call up and I go, the baby is 180 degrees. And the woman, the pediatric, says, that's just because she's got a little smallpox right now. This was going to run its course. And I'm like, where's my? I just fucking couldn't believe.
I had baby smallpox. A mini smallpox. I mean, listen, I think any big decisions when it comes to your kid's health is worth researching and figuring out if, what the best options are. I certainly know someone who was prescribed something, I can't remember what the symptoms, and she was pregnant, and, after doing a little research, found out that it had extreme possibilities for birth defects. So it's the doctor never made that clear, that was a risk that she would have been taking, and thank God she had researched it. So I don't think that there's anything wrong with making people smarter about researching options for health. But, vaccines are important. So
I see. Here's the thing. People are saying they don't believe in doctors anymore.
Right.
Now, I'm probably more going to sit down and talk about it with a doctor, but I also don't get furious with Jim Carrey the way a lot of people do.
Yeah, that's the thing that's so shocking is people get infuriated. And I'm guessing maybe a lot of times these are people who are also parents as well, because they're like, you are not vaccinating your child, and that's a terrible parenting decision.
Right.
That is, puts them at risk, and I think that's where the fight is happening, is parents versus parents on this.
Yeah, because I kind of do feel like I'm in the I don't give a fuck attitude. But, we were talking about this yesterday with Cosby, does a person's political views, if it doesn't go into their act at all, does that bother you?
I think that it's not always black and white. Like sometimes it does. Like
sometimes Asians and Hispanics
no,
do the same
God.
shit. It's not just us in the black.
I think that everyone is going to take it. It depends on what the thing is. Like, I think, I said yesterday, Cosby, it's going to be difficult to disassociate this from his work because so much of his work was tied into being clean and imposing that on other people. For someone like, Jim Carrey, well, one, I'm not particularly, it's not like I have a horse in this race to begin with, but
you care about humans.
I do care about human beings.
So that
the life of children.
In this case, the horse is human. But could you be a fan of an actor who said something like, we ought to bomb them all back to the Stone Age? I
think oftentimes I am able to, disassociate. Like I said, I do that for Woody Allen. I mean, I still enjoy Woody Allen movies, and
he was proven innocent.
He never did anything wrong.
Thank you.
That's not a single.
Chris, do you even have a political thing at all that would bother you if someone felt the other way?
Pro-choice people. I'm pro-life people. Excuse me.
Pro-choice. This is shocking.
Yeah, right.
I hate to tell you something, Chris.
That's the only thing that freaks me the fuck out. And
you get mad at pro-lifers.
Yeah.
Now, mad to the fact that you couldn't be a fan of somebody who was anti-abortion?
Yeah, that's the one thing. Oddly, it's the
weird.
one thing. Really, I've had friends who said, "Yeah, I'm definitely pro-life." Well, then we're not friends anymore.
Really?
Yeah, and this is a person I was friends with for years, and I barely see the person. When I see them, I'm like, fucking pro-lifer.
Yes.
I mean, I normally run into a little trouble. This is if someone's like a Steelers fan, I'm like,
sure.
That makes sense.
Oh, yeah, because that's hard to do, isn't it? To be a Steelers fan.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Let me guess, you started watching football with your dad in the 70s. You both like the Steelers. Why? Because of the 4 fucking Super Bowls that they won? Instead of sticking to the team around your house? But yeah, those things always annoy me. But politically, I'm trying to think, is there a famous pro-life person who's like a rock star or a movie star?
That Stacey something. She was on Clueless. I don't know if I would call her a movie.
Stacey Dash?
Yeah, Stacey Dash is like a very right wing, and I think she's come out as a pro-lifer.
See, I don't know her enough to present this to Chris.
I mean, you remember Dion from Clueless.
I remember her.
I'm going to tell you the truth, I don't, and I have no idea who she is now. But let's see if, Chris, just try to think, and this is mainly going to be for you, because I don't think...
It's going to ruin...
Yeah.
All right.
See if you can find a couple that...
Okay, I found 8 A-list celebrities that are pro-life.
All right, great.
All right. Oh, no. All right.
Now, by the way, just choosing to have your own children doesn't make you pro-life.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, to be, certainly, you're saying everyone has to make the choice. Because pro-choice people do have children.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So that's not...
And pro-choice people also, some of them have never had abortions, which is like something that I think is pro-lifers don't understand.
Right.
Is that they actually might personally make the choice that they don't find it to be something that they would ever do.
Right.
But they think that it's fine for other people to make that decision.
Okay. Patricia Heaton is pro-life.
Oh, you see, I already don't like her to begin with.
No.
Wait, flip out.
She's the one that...
I can't remember. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Kenny Chesney.
I don't know.
I would have guessed that.
Jack Nicholson. What?
Oh, Chris, you're
fucked.
Can I tell you something about Jack Nicholson?
Yeah.
And I think he walks his talk because he's had a lot of babies outside of marriage. But Jack is one of those guys that he found out that when his grandmother died, his mother was his grandmother and his sister was. Right. And I don't think he found out until they both died.
Yeah.
Oh,
so he always thought that the woman that was his sister was actually, truthfully, his mother. She was just, out of wedlock and very young.
Yeah,
now, are you telling me that you could not be a a Jack Nicholson fan because of what you found out.
I mean, this makes me look at him differently.
I would love to see him at some abortion clinics yelling and shit.
Bombing one.
Yeah.
Throwing a Molotov cocktail through the window. That one hurts. Mel Gibson.
I believe that. That makes sense. That works.
Whatever.
I mean, Nicholson was a shock.
Now, by the way, all the crazy shit that Mel Gibson does, I've watched some of his movies and never thought about it once. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Like, I watch any of his old movies from the late 80s, I'm like, this is fucking when action movies were action movies.
Right.
I don't think about the anti-Semitic shit.
Yeah.
Right.
None of the crazy, none of it bothers me.
That makes sense for him.
Yeah, that one is,
All right.
makes,
Ben Stein, whatever. Ben Stein's a dick.
yeah.
All I really know of him is Bueller. There's nothing
Right.
else I've even thought about him about.
Not
Justin Bieber, this hurts for me again.
Did you see
Is
the
this
picture
worse?
of Bieber? There's one up on the iBang with his ass out, like he was naked.
Pull it
And-
up.
Yeah. He's got like a sweet girl ass. Like he gotta never get in trouble.
You better never get in trouble.
Yeah, because
You better hope your ass stays out of
it's
jail.
inviting.
Okay.
He has an inviting ass.
It's still loading. Oh, it's uncomfortable.
That's not a girl's ass to you?
Wow.
It's like a nice round girl's ass.
With his
Thighs are a little too
hair.
big.
With his hair there.
Yeah.
If you didn't tell me that was Justin Bieber, I would think that was an athletic
Tatted
woman.
up chick.
Yeah, like a tatted up, it's a little muscly in the shoulder region. But that is a very feminine butt.
It's a feminine butt. I keep going with your contest.
Okay. Martin Sheen.
Oh,
I love Mr. Catholic.
Yeah.
He came in here as a very, very sweet man, but a very, very Catholic man. Matter of fact, he did the Catholic channel while he was in here.
And finally, Kirk Cameron.
That shocks me.
Wow.
That dude is so fucking awesome.
What am I going to do with my life?
See, by the way, none of that stuff. I don't have that big a problem with people who think differently than me because I'm normally more curious how they got to that place.
You're right.
And like when you find out, like a lot of people are like, they don't think about some of the like they don't think about pro-life, pro-death. They don't think about the electric chair. They just
Right.
live their life.
Well, capital punishment is an interesting one that you will hear debates about things like, pro-choice or pro-life. But I don't, it's strange that that's not a more hot button conversational topic about capital punishment.
Well, because it's hard to fight for. You're just like, I
Yeah.
guess I am, but I don't give a fuck.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, whatever. I mean, I think we'd be better off as a society not to kill people. But really, do I want to go down there with a candle? Fuck it.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah. I mean, you do feel bad for the victim's family, and if the victim's family just starts to say to me, "I want that person dead," I'll just go like this. Okay, just this
Yeah.
one. This one. This will be the last
I
one
agree
that
with
we
this.
kill.
It seems like they deserve it.
Yeah.
The problem is, it's not having capital punishment is never worth an innocent person dying,
All agree on paper.
Yeah.
All 100% agree. By the way, every civilized nation except for the U.S. agrees. Doesn't make it like the fact that I'd say that I don't know, Charlie Manson or Son of Sam is still alive.
Right.
It doesn't hurt our day-to-day life. It doesn't change anything. But then on the other hand, if someone says, "Oh," like the guy if there's ever a guy I would have said I could have killed with my bare hands, it's Mark David Chapman who killed John Lennon.
Yeah.
I love John Lennon.
Yeah.
To this day, I love John Lennon. Paul McCartney doesn't anymore. I still do.
You stuck with him.
Yeah. But has my life been worse because that guy stayed alive? No. You know what I mean? But I would have, when it happened, after I got past my initial heartbreak, I probably could have choked him out and killed him.
Sure.
And
Could've
two
been
of his friends.
Carried off
Two
by a
guys
mob.
yeah. Oh, yeah, I could have been in the mob, certainly. I could probably be in the mob for most things. That's,
Get him! Get him!
Witch! Witch! See if she floats! Did you let her know that address?
Yes, I did.
All right, so you know
Things
got to get worked out. But I thought that we would do this piece coming up a little later on. Dan, who's been, let's face it, an up-and-comer. Dan has been everything that we wanted Joe to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, everything that we expected from Joe, we're now getting from Dan.
I can be that guy still.
No, Dan's already you. You're not you anymore.
Yeah.
If anything, you could go back to being Anthony like you were before when I first met you. You were just the Anthony of the group. But Dan is, by the way, takes comedy more serious than any of us. And he's put together his list of Jim Carrey best of movies.
I'm very excited to see this.
This is interesting.
And you, I know, I brought this up before. When my kids were little, the two movies that would be easy for us to sit down and laugh with was Carrey and Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
And I could never, seriously, do anything but thank either one of those guys for how many laughs they gave us on the couch when you were little. Those were probably your first adult funny people, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I would say Adam Sandler, Jim Carrey, and Bill Murray, probably.
Bill Murray. We did a lot of Bill Murray. Now, the thing is this. Watching a cartoon is just, it's hurtful to me, and I know the children like it.
Yeah.
But a dumb comedy where the children are on the couch and they're just falling all over you and you're laughing, you're high-fiving each other, or people are spitting out popcorn, throwing Cokes at the wall because it's so funny. That is as good as any family relationship like that you ever have. Did you have anybody like that with your parents?
It was Sandler and it was Jim Carrey because I remember listening to Adam Sandler's albums, watching him on Saturday Night Live, and seeing Billy Madison in theaters, and going back 2 or 3 times and bringing my friends and telling my parents, "Look, you got to bring my friends now because they have to see how fucking funny Billy Madison."
You loved him that much.
I was like, it was crazy and weird if you really think about it.
That's that thing where, like, while your friends are laughing, you're looking at them like,
Yes.
right. Right. I mean, you can only share that kind of stuff with a dumb comedy because you can't share it in a rom-com. You know what I mean?
When I was a kid, I went to a new school, and I was, pretty nervous about going to a new school my first day. And there was a kid who was sitting like 2 rows behind me who was just obnoxiously doing lines from Billy Madison, and his Billy Madison impression was so good, and I was like, that's my new best friend. That dude's my new best friend.
What lines was he doing?
Like, he was just doing, like, want to touch the honey, and stuff like that.
Like this
shampoo is special.
This kid is so cool.
This guy gets me.
Yeah. So we'll go over the Jim Carrey list. And, just as we were talking about there being certain devices of things in life, politically thinking, lists are one of those.
Yeah.
What was the guy who's done our show who did the list about the SNL guys?
It was Rick.
No, he's from Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
He did all the SNL guys. And he had done our show a couple of times. Lovely guy, really fun guy. I haven't had him back on because there was so much heat to him. I didn't want him to attract it.
Rob Sheffield.
Rob, really sweet guy. But he had Colin Lowe, and
right?
People wanted to kill him. All because of a list. Someone's got to come in low on a list.
Yeah, someone does.
Someone asked me online where I would put all these people, and some directors. This is just the other night. And they're like, how could you rank Altman that low? I go, you've got the Coens in there, and you've got, I mean, you. This is a tough crowd. You know what I mean? This is a very difficult list. Kubrick is on this list.
He belongs on the list. Yeah. Isn't that enough? He's on the list.
Yeah, you're in the list. You're in the room. But this list will drive people crazy.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's a positive list, if someone has a list of best Beatles song, people get furious with them that something is ninth and not sixth.
Well, yeah, I think because everyone can, like, it's a mode that everyone understands. Like, I have my favorites. I can't imagine somebody has different favorites.
But the thing is this, you didn't make up the list. They did. They risked being mocked.
Yeah.
They risked being stupid.
Oh, yeah, that's not a person.
And that's what Dan is doing.
Yeah. He's a trailblazer.
I know what has to be the number one.
Yeah.
On the list.
I have a personal one that I'm thinking.
Chris,
I'm
you?
sure
Yeah,
that
I
it's
have
the same
it.
as yours.
My brain is going to be melded.
I'll tell you this, it ain't one of the serious ones. You know?
Yeah.
23 is not making my list.
It's pretty
silly. All right, we got a break here,
Yeah,
Chris?
we should break.
Why don't you plug the next Unmasked?
The next Unmasked is going to be with Sebastian Maniscalco. That's Monday, July 13th at 4 p.m. at the SiriusXM studios. Go to theinterrobang.com for a chance to win your free tickets. That's next Monday, July 13th at 4 p.m.
Nice.
With Sebastian Maniscalco.
Down. Chris is blowing up over there.
Shit's out of control right now.
The other day, we all had a Amber Alert at the same time, and we were all sitting here, and just everyone's phones blew up, and we're like, oh, that's... You know, you get that, like, alert signal, and then you hear it popping all over, and then everybody but Stanley's.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then a picture of Stanley came up on mine.
Is that really what happened?
It's like the Running Man. That's where we will eventually be. Well, they'll just put a picture of somebody up, and it'll be up to us to hit them with a stick.
And then it listed the make and model of your car. And that's when I turned you in.
Which was 0 and empty and nothing. Because he still hasn't achieved a driver's license.
Nope.
Because he lives in Trainville.
But it was really eerie to look out the window here and just see everyone looking.
Yeah, I know. It's never a good feeling. I had it one time for like a storm alert while we were in a theater. And you just hear it like, you know, and you just want to yell out, it's 9/11 again. You just really don't want to hear an alert like that go off.
I'd like an Amber Alert update as well.
They never let you know.
I would like to know what happened there.
Here is what is even way bigger than Amber Alerts, and this is almost daily stuff. The Silver Alert, which is an elderly person went out for a drink.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And we can't find.
Yeah. We can't find Grandpa because he wants to go out and act like he's still alive. So everyone else, because you never hear of someone snatching an elderly person. What are you going to do with them?
What's the ransom there?
Let's see. We were only going to have them for another 6 months to 2 years anyway. I don't know, 2,500? How's that sound? 2,500.
Let's
make a deal.
All right, but you're going to have to put up with him. He is not easy, and he'll hit you with that cane. That's the thing about old people is they still like to hit.
I'm going to have to set you up with all his meds.
Oh, God.
Pretty annoying schedule, but...
Yes, it's and he's not ever going to say thank you. He doesn't care.
He's going to be pissed. The
Rain Man should just be called Elderly Man because they want to watch their shows and do things the way they want to do it. And the food can't change. And you can't say we're going over to Aunt Bertha's without getting a bunch of shit.
They hate food prepared by other people who are not them and are never thankful for it.
And they're fine with the underwear and pants that they've had on for a week. This is just good.
Oh, they wash up in their own way.
Oh, God. God. This is maybe the worst conversation we've ever gotten into.
A horse bath and a granny's bath.
Oh,
exactly the
Oh,
same.
my God. Stop.
That stanky powder.
I didn't even know the term granny's bath before right now.
Oh, no.
No. I remember even when I was a little kid, I'd be like, well, my grandmother gets to go to the wedding and or funeral in her house coat. And then she would say, is this okay? You know, normally she'd like put a pin on. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yes, that's what it's called, a brooch.
It pulls
but
together.
But there was no time and then she would act like, does this look okay? What do you mean, does it look okay? You're in your fucking pajamas. All right? Now, there's only one way you can put off, like leaving and walking around town in your pajamas. Julian Snobble. You have to make these famous work of art before anyone will put up with you and your pajama comfort wear.
they're fine with wearing pajamas, but then they'll also have like a really nice hat and like emerald hat pin.
Yes.
That's the important thing. Make sure you get the hat pin.
They think if they just add a couple pieces of jewelry, you won't realize that they slept in those clothes. And by the way, we've kind of fallen into this, like with Italian guys going out wearing a track suit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're 375 pounds, dude. We know you ain't running track anywhere.
It's velour. It's great. It breathes. What the hell are they doing?
They're in their onesies. They're in their little PJs. That's it for them. They've given up.
So they're little footy pajamas.
They should have that, because I don't want to put on shoes, you know? I don't like to go outside with hard shoes on my feet. It's bad for your feet. They can't breathe that way. So I wear the footies. And they got little grips on the bottom. It's very, very nice.
It's real nice. It's a real nice brand.
By the way, all this started just because Chris's phone went off for 1 second.
Yeah, I'm popping off. It's great. It's great to blow up.
What was your girlfriend saying? By the way, you're still an asshole.
How'd you know?
Still hate you.
You just get a text and go, I'm still mad about last night.
Well, I've forgotten about it.
I'm at work now.
I slept that off. I'm not thinking about that anymore.
I need to concentrate.
All right, just got a text. You ruined my life. Hope you're happy.
Why would I be happy about it? Why? What's with the rhetorical questions? The hell? What's the possible answer for that?
You say you don't even argue with your girlfriend.
Oh, the drinking can come up.
Hers?
No,
Look how
You don't drink enough.
I swear to God, if you don't get another couple shots in you.
But she met you when you were a heavy drinker, right?
It made me look tame now in college. I was a crazy
I've seen
psycho.
the videos that you and your friends put up, this fucking Project Mayhem apartment that you're in. You know how they get mad at people for like rioting in their own neighborhood?
Sure.
These guys busted up their own apartment at their own party.
You live there.
Yeah, I lived there. It was
And you're
bad.
held responsible.
Well, I got kicked out, so I never had to pay the bill.
That's called responsible, Chris.
Yeah,
That's
that
you
would
being
be-
held responsible. Being kicked
Oh,
out.
no, I wasn't. I was kicked out, so.
So I didn't get in any trouble.
Dodge that bill.
It isn't a matter of bill, Chris. It's the fact that you were deemed not civilized enough for a state school.
Yeah, that's what the president of the college said, that you were not fit for higher education. Is what I had to, my final appeal to the guy to stay in. I went
Let me get a pen and initial his statement.
Second the motion.
Just give it a quick RB. And you said a mouthful, sister.
Cosign?
I like to refer to people in suits as sister.
Oh, me too.
Like a lot of times I'll just see the bosses here and I'll go, you look nice today, young lady. And then I just give them a little pinch on the cheek.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Make them feel good.
So you and your chick are fighting about you were drinking.
We have before, yeah. It's I've calmed down since then, but
Is it because of what you did during blackouts or just the...
just the general...
Just the
the
general
fact that it's just constant.
continuing
that you're always
at your
drunk.
age.
Yeah.
That I drink heavily,
Right.
and then
We
I
like-
come home.
We like to say about Chris, he's drunk the same whether it's 11 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
It's a level of drunkenness that just takes place.
Consistency there,
And
then.
to be honest, I prefer 11 in the morning. I like a nice morning buzz.
Yeah, I don't know what the drunk version of Wake and Bake is. I don't know whether you have.
It's less charming, I know that.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
It's probably why there's not a cute name for
Yeah,
it.
because we know, here's the thing that we hate about people who get up and like, I'm going to have a drink first thing in the morning. We know it's to stop your hand from shaking, which now means that your problem has gone physical.
Mhm. Now you're not doing it from enjoyment anymore.
Yeah, but beer tastes good in the morning, you know? It's like it's nice, it's refreshing to some people.
There's nothing refreshing about a beer. Matter of fact, it's, yes, I drink to be drunk. I get that completely. But it's not refreshing because the alcohol actually takes from the body instead of giving
It's
to the
depleting
body.
you.
Yeah, at the time, when you're drinking it, it's like, oh man, this tastes great. It's got to keep this going, or else it's going to get really bad.
Right. That means reality is starting to seep in. But if it was refreshing, you would look on, let's say, an NFL sideline and see a keg.
Mm-hmm.
And that never happens. Now, it does
So
happen
fresh.
in Sunday football games. Where you're always like, we're going out to play softball. Oh, good news, we got a keg during the game instead of after
right.
the game.
It's going to be great, dude. Don't worry about it.
That's why you guys will laugh when I miss the ball instead of yelling at me, you fucked us up.
This is hilarious.
Yeah. I always think that that's funny, too, that angle of we're playing either touch football, or softball, or pickup basketball, and we're taking it more seriously than we do our own jobs.
This is dead serious right now. Like, they get uniforms.
The uniforms
they, like,
is embarrassing if you're not.
And then have conversations about, like, intense, like, this is what we need to do.
Here's what gets to me about the uniform softball league thing. Then guys wear the uniform to the bar, right? Which you've never seen a Met or Yankee do.
Right?
They got time for a shower.
They're going to see A-Rod just bellied up. Man, we were down 3-2, and then I hit that shot, remember?
At a fucking club.
You're like, no, you've got a couple minutes to go home and shower up.
No, it's immediate. We have to. The game's over. Time to start drinking.
Yeah, but you also needed a keg for the game, so I don't know where this is coming from.
I guess the game is the party, and then going to the bar afterwards, the after party.
Do you think if you stopped drinking now that your body would go to war against you?
I feel like it would hurt.
You'd have to wean yourself off.
Yeah, like slowly, maybe just
Light
stop in
beers?
the morning. Yeah, and still lights.
Can you even get drunk on light beers?
Oh, it's got to be 24 beers before it's like finally. I guess I'm feeling something.
Is it hard for you to get drunk?
Yeah. Well, the weird thing is, like, you don't realize when you get drunk. That buzz feeling just fucking. I feel like I'm not drunk the entire time. Then the next day, it's like, wow, I guess I was drunk. But at the time, for the way my body feels now,
That's really bad. That you didn't know you were drunk.
it happens all the time. It's like, oh, what do you mean? I was fine last night. Yes, I'm going to be hungover for the next 3 days. But at the time, I felt fine.
Man, that's something I do not miss at all, a hangover. And, a hangover is one of those things like, when you get your first hangover, they start to become fairly regular after that.
Yeah.
You could go for years before you're like, oh, fuck, do I have the flu? Oh, no, I guess this is what they meant when they say hangover.
Yeah. I was pounding gallons of poison into me.
Right.
Gallons.
Not woke up tired like you think when you're younger, like,
Right.
oh, I guess this is a hangover. I'm still exhausted.
Yeah.
No, we're talking about that thing where noise and light are your enemy.
I don't think I understood that when I was younger. Because when I was younger, I would just be like, oh, my tummy kind of hurts. You're like, I don't feel so great. And then now it takes nothing to have a hangover.
Yeah.
Like literally nothing.
Yeah.
You could have like a glass of wine and then feel like shit the next day.
Right. It also happens with pills. That's another reason why people will get addicted. So, like, if you have an anxiety problem and, like, you just take a pill to deal with something, you got to, some meeting or something.
Right.
The next day, you're, like, cranky and shitty, and you're like, shut up. You know what I mean? Like, you're just giving people fucking just pissy attitude. You're like, what is it? Oh, this little pill would just help me.
Oh, I'm even now.
It's like all those things, right, that make you feel good also play against you in the same way that if you eat carbs, you're hungry.
Yeah.
You get full fast, and then you're like, why am I starving? I just ate an hour ago.
I need more.
Why does that happen with carbs? Like,
Because they're kind of a drug. They're sugar, so
it tastes good.
Sugar does the same thing.
and it's
Kicking sugar is fucking terrible.
I have never done it.
It can't be done.
I've taken it down a lot, and
Yeah.
even that was very difficult for me.
As an experiment, just go, I'm going to go a week off of sugar, and you'll get, it reminds you of being dope sick, like your nose is running and shit.
Oh, God.
Your jaw hurts in your ear, and you're like, gotta call Spanish Johnny. We're dying.
And it's like that's the first drug you're introduced to, really. Sugar.
Fuck yeah, when you're a kid?
Yeah.
Oh, God, any kind of shit. Like, there's going to be a party, you start planning on sugar intake.
And just like alcohol, your like tolerance is high. Like kids can eat a lot of sugar and like really sweet things. And one day you wake up as an adult and you're like, much too sweet. Like that doesn't happen when you're a kid. Like you
dream of
never
it. Yeah.
ate something when you were a kid and thought, this is too sweet for me.
Yeah.
I'd rather not.
No, you're right. You're right. When you're a kid, you could actually just put some food dye in a cup of sugar and just sit and eat it with a spoon. Just eat it with a spoon.
I like the color and taste.
Well, when they didn't know that sugar was bad for you, they used to actually say, and put some sugar on your cereal.
Yeah.
Put some sugar on your...
Well, all those cereals had sugar in the title because they thought that was like a great selling point.
Energy.
Yeah.
They got sugar and energy confused.
But like all those cereals were like Sugar Smacks and like
Sugar Pops.
Yeah.
Sugar... one of it was just called Sugar Cubes that the kids would get. And you would just sit down and have some sugar cubes. Big week coming up with our friend Bridget Everett having that special go out. We've got to see it already, and we just loved it. This cabaret act that she's doing, it's that mixture of like really funny, bizarre, and then the fact that she sings like tremendous.
I was blown away by this special.
Yeah.
Like riveted.
Right.
Where I was thinking, if I just keep imagining somebody flipping through the channels and coming across that and just being like, what am I watching? This is incredible.
I know. And the thing is, when you can sing like her, you wouldn't normally think, I'll add some comedy to this. Like, that never occurred to, like, Aretha Franklin. You know what I mean? I guess Barbara Streisand did...
Bette Midler.
Yeah, well, Bette Midler was gigantic and was really pure. But I think Streisand started this way and then became a superstar and was like, no, I'm just a wonderful lady. You know what I mean?
A diva, if you will.
Yeah. But it never, like, it occurred to the Supremes, hey, we really need some gags in the middle of this act.
Spice this up.
Yeah.
Break this shit up a little bit.
You know, Love Child is so sad that maybe we should do a couple of minutes, to get the room laughing. So if I was Bridget and I had her talent, it wouldn't have ever once occurred to me throw some jokes in.
Yeah, she has this phenomenal voice, and then the band is killer as well.
Well, that's because they won't want to be with her. You know what I mean? Like, the band is saying, we get the tradition of this type of act. You know what I mean? It's a very American thing. And in a way, it's almost like what do they call the cross-dressing acts?
Drag.
Yeah, the drag queen. It's like a drag queen thing, except for it's not a man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Absolutely.
a lot of those drag queens can sing their asses off.
Yeah, it's true. And they're great performers, great dancers. And then add a little raunchiness in there. Something for everybody.
Something for everybody in club. But Bridget doesn't get to, pull this off. Except for just like straight down the middle with it,
right.
And then the thing about this that you're going to love is there's like a couple physical comedy bits that are about as funny as you can get. And you don't really see much physical comedy being done outside of film. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you can see the audience is just in awe of what is happening. Like, there is a level of like, you can see in their faces, they're incredibly entertained and just a little scared. Like, where is this going?
I would be scared. I would want to sit in the act near the fire exit. So when she says, you, sir, I'd be able to just lean through the fire exit, be in the like I would just act like it was casual, like I didn't hear her, be out through the fire exit, hit the fucking alley and just start running hard.
Don't turn back.
Yeah, I don't want to be on stage not in my own power. Because that's why I don't get why people are like a hypnotist. I'll take some volunteers and people are like, I'll do it. And you're like, why?
Use me.
Have you ever been to a hypnotist show before?
Yeah.
He's going to tell you don't have a dick and you're going to believe him. And everyone's going to laugh and point.
The only thing you can do is go with it. Unfortunately, even if you're uncomfortable, you have to go with it.
If somebody pulls you up in that thing.
Now, do you remember I was picked once for a guy who was like a juggler?
Oh, yeah, we were cracking up.
It was so horrifying. In Central Park, he was a juggler. At this point, all he's been doing is juggling.
Nice.
He pulls me up. I don't want to be there, but, you got to go with it.
And we're just laying on the floor laughing.
Yeah, I'm so super uncomfortable. So he starts with this little silly juggling bit. Next thing, I'm up on his shoulders, and he gets on a giant unicycle. And I'm up there going, this is not what I thought was I was so upset and just be like, I can't believe that I'm up here. I thought I was going to right.
And he's just riding around and people are clapping and we're rolling like, if she falls now, she's going to get hurt bad. It's really bad. This is dangerous.
Meanwhile, you just have to have the smile. This is fun. I love this.
We're both in this act somehow. It's like you suddenly are being made German out of nowhere. All right, so Bridget Everett, it's like seeing Gail on top of a guy's shoulder on a unicycle. Comes up when?
July 11th, this Saturday on Comedy Central, Gynecological Wonder.
You know, everybody loves her hit song, What I Gotta Do. So let's give that a little play. This is Bridget Everett. See her this weekend on Comedy Central. This is What I Gotta Do. Ah, Bridget. She is right. Bridget Everett is just trying to figure out what she's got to do. Is it Saturday night, Chris?
This Saturday night, July 11th.
On the big Comedy Central, Bridget Everett. You'll be able to see her. You know, I got a little weirded out because I saw Joe and Dan dancing this song.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like you guys have invented a dance that you do to it.
Yeah, it's a hot beat. We invented a dance for it.
I got uncomfortable with that, and then the pointing at the mouth. I just feel like it's immature. It's when you pantomime, you know, instead of...
It's a literal dance interpretation.
Like dick in my mouth, you know, that kind of thing.
And, you know, it's what I, and he's pointing in his eye. There's Dan in his nice red T-shirt today. Dan, you had something you said you put together for us for the Big Bennington show.
It was Jim Carrey's top 10 film roles ranked from 10 down to 1, 1 being the best, 10 being the 10th best.
Okay, now I get it. I didn't know. But how many movies has he done altogether?
He's been in 40 feature films.
That's surprising, isn't it?
Wow.
That's
That is
surprising.
shocking.
Well, you know, he did a lot of things before he became famous. He was in Peggy Sue Got Married and Earth Girls Are Easy. Before we knew we were looking at Jim Carrey.
Yes.
You know?
Comedic genius.
But, yes. So this is up on the iBang. Now, I don't want any of us to go look at it. Let the listeners go to the ibang.com, check out this list. But we will hear the list. Do all of us think we have a definitive Jim Carrey #1 movie?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
I think I have mine.
I got a couple that I'm wrestling with. But let's go to your number 10.
Number 10, I had Cable Guy.
That would have been
10?
much higher for me.
Yeah.
I thought Cable Guy was
way high.
pretty genius.
Yes.
And I love that people didn't like it. Like, that made me love it more.
That's the thing. It really flopped when it first came out. And I remember growing up and seeing it was like, oh, that's the one that everybody hates. That's the Jim Carrey movie not to see.
But I wonder if it flopped as bad or it was just getting the critics. Because, first of all, I think they were just... It seemed like it was the time that they were laying into both him and Ben Stiller at the same time.
Right.
You know, like, oh, these young men have had a lot of success. Let's give them a punch in the chest.
Yeah.
But if you go back and watch that film, what are they upset about? That it was mean-spirited?
I think that it was dark because his previous roles had been so light and silly. And there's definitely silliness, but there's a darkness to that movie as well.
But there's also the character breaks your heart a little bit. You know, I mean, he's a sad guy. He's all alone. I was actually madder at Ferris Bueller for not just like, look, dude, you're not hanging out with someone else. This isn't third grade where we think you're represented by your friend that you can't go out somewhere.
Give him some love.
It's that part. Is just you're not adding to it. You just saying.
No, seriously, he was a dick.
Wait, who was the he?
With Ferris?
Who's the dick?
It's Ferris.
Okay.
Ferris.
I guess, he wasn't, he could have been nicer to Cameron.
I don't think, he was mean to Cameron. He fucked up Cameron's card and didn't give a fuck in that.
Yeah.
But we're digressing here. And I thought, was it Jack Black that was
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
the other friend who was like
Who's really
jealous
mean.
guy? Yeah.
And I forgot Ben Stiller directed.
Yes,
Cable
that's
Guy
what I'm
also.
saying.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So I didn't realize. But yeah, I think it's.
And then played the twins, played the murdering
Yes.
twins.
I think they were Asian.
Yeah, it's funny as shit. All right, do you remember who Jim Carrey's girlfriend, that Ferris Bueller's girlfriend was in that?
Okay, she's blonde, and
Yes.
I'm trying to think. I can picture her hair.
All right, can I give you a clue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's married to Judd Apatow.
Oh my God, was that her?
Yeah.
Wow.
She played the girlfriend of that.
Leslie Mann.
Yeah.
Leslie Mann.
Man. And Matthew Broderick dated the girl who played his sister in that movie for many years, whose name I'm blocking.
Who played
Ferris Bueller.
Stay off the Ferris Bueller.
okay.
There's a cable guy.
Jim Carrey.
Okay.
Then we'll rank our favorite moments of Ferris Bueller.
The top
That's gonna
10,
be a great
top
list.
10 Ferris Bueller
You gotta.
movies.
This is one of your things. You gotta get yourself in the pocket, son. This has
yes.
nothing to
Yes,
do
yes,
with
yes.
it. And we're talking just about cable guy. Don't worry, you're gonna pay next time. Way he's eating that fucking eggs. Oh yeah.
Number 9, I put Ace Ventura.
Oh.
What the hell's going on with this list?
Whoa.
Topsy-turvy.
Hello.
Way too low.
Oh,
It should be higher?
Way
I'm
higher.
sticking with 9.
I'm telling you, when I saw that movie as a kid, I don't know if it was my age. I can't tell you what the rest of the world was doing, but me and my brother were obsessed with it. We could watch it 3 times a day
It's crazy
and
funny.
still be laughing.
I will always have a place in my heart for Jim Carrey and Adam Sandler for how much they made my kids laugh. Like when you're sitting out on a couch with your kids and they're just fucking crying, laughing.
Yes.
And by the way, and then you don't think it's awful. You're not like watching like a shitty cartoon or a
Right.
puppet show. Like you're like they're watching a real comedy and they love this guy and they're repeating lines. But I've said this before about Ace Ventura. Name me another guy who could have done that fucking role, let alone done it well.
No.
Right.
Just anyone could have done it. So, to me, that's great acting.
You know who was originally offered the part? Rick Moranis.
They say everybody was offered that
Wow.
part. That it went around town and everyone went, this is fucking ridiculous. And it was.
Like, what would... And I love Rick Moranis.
He would have played it a different way.
It
He
just would have been entirely... Yeah.
You know,
He said no so he could play Barney in the live-action Flintstones movie. Which, honestly, that's like a better fit for him. Because what would he have
Right,
done with
yeah,
Ace
yeah.
I
Ventura?
didn't forget that he did that. It was in
yeah.
the first one he did
Yeah,
it?
yeah. So,
Wow.
like, if Rick Moranis had said somebody stop me,
Right, who
no
was
one-
the,
no one
who was
would've
the
listened to
original
him.
Fred? I don't even remember that. I know it came
John
away.
Goodman.
Man.
was
That whole
Halle
thing
Berry
was
in that movie too?
Was who?
Halle Berry was in that movie too.
Was
Hey,
she?
we're getting off.
Oh, this
Oh,
guy.
okay, this
Jim
is not
Come on.
top 10
We're
best
talking about Ferris
Flintstones
Bueller.
movies.
All right, so we are all agreed that this is insane list already.
Right.
You've taken 2 that belong in the top 5 and have dropped it down. But you have to see the rest of his list
Right.
before we know.
Let's see what happens.
I'll tell you what I like that I ranked above was I Love You, Philip Morris, which is a recent one that he did with Ewan McGregor.
Saw it,
Yes.
and I'm like, oh, this is peculiar and great. Have I ever seen it again? No. How many times have I watched Ferris Bueller? I mean, not Ferris Bueller. Ace Ventura
And Cable Guy.
or Cable Guy. It's just, okay, I made a mistake. Everybody line up. You know what?
We love Ferris Bueller.
So, I've watched Ferris Bueller a ton of times.
Hundreds.
Yeah. If it was on now, I'd probably stop this conversation. So that's the thing. I mean, yeah, I get it. You prove that, you're like a smart film reviewer.
Yeah.
Cool dude.
Yeah,
You're
cool.
cool.
It's a cool dude alert.
You know what I mean? Did you just say cool dude alert?
Yeah, cool dude alert.
That's really fucking
You get
something
you get
only
those-
a douche would say.
You get those on your
Dude
phone,
alert.
like an Amber
alert.
alert. You get, like a flash flood warning. You get them on your iPhone.
Yeah.
A cool dude alert.
All right, now have any of you guys seen this thing?
I know. I
He's
never
having
saw it.
gay sex in prison. You'd have to be as edgy as
That's my
this.
number one.
Yeah, that's,
Of
you
course
know,
it is.
the whole
They cut out
thing.
a lot of the gay sex apparently from the first
Didn't
cut.
seem it to me. When I saw
There
it.
was way more. There was
Yeah.
way more in the first cut.
Yeah, all right, well, give me your next one, because these guys can't comment on this.
Okay, Bruce Almighty. And here's where I think it was one of the highest grossing comedies
So what?
of all time.
Dan?
I loved it when I saw it. And here's the difference with how good Jim Carrey is versus anybody else. When they tried to do a sequel with Evan Almighty, with Steve Carell, that movie didn't even make back its budget. that
Again,
one
what are you, an
just fucking
accountant?
bombed.
We
Yeah.
were sitting here
Saying-
talking about
good.
I'm
movies.
saying
Dan?
how great he was, and
I-
that he's such a determining factor that
All
much
right.
people love it, that nobody wants to see
All right,
Steve
let
Carell
me-
or anybody else be God. I
Are
wanna
you
see Jim
telling me
Carrey.
that we couldn't have had a Bruce Almighty hit with Will Ferrell?
I don't know that it would have been to the
Because, by the
same
way,
extent.
the second one was like about Noah. It was really fucking ridiculous.
It was really weird.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm saying this. Will Ferrell could go in and do Bruce Almighty. I don't think that he could do Ace Ventura. I think that that's so weirdly unique to Jim Carrey.
I'm just shocked that already these bottom three, you've got to put those other two above. First of all, they're way above it. And you're even putting it there? Above Ace Ventura?
What I gotta do. What else he got?
Number 6, Dumb and Dumber.
All right, give us the price tag on that one. What did they make? What was the budget? How much
I don't
did
know
they
what the
bring back?
budget was.
How much they
But
pay
it's-
back to all the producing partners?
Who got points in that?
Do you think? I thought Jeff Daniels was almost more of that than Jim Carrey. Like to
More
me,
what?
like just in terms of making me laugh, and just, it was really surprising how fucking funny Jeff Daniels is in that movie. So that's why that one I bumped probably lower on the list than it would have been.
It's higher than the movie that we thought was going to be there. You know, they were great in that. They caught him at the right time. Right. And, you know, that's the thing. Jeff Daniels is a good actor. Yes. They decided to have him with an actor rather than with a comic because they didn't want two guys in there both going...
Trying to top each other.
If you go back and watch that, Jeff Daniels was doing all reaction shots.
Yeah.
You know, and they're all kind of like, really, Lloyd? You know, that kind of shit. That was really funny. But that movie, when I dropped Fez off at the airport and he was heading in, and I was driving away, I literally, the last thing I said to him in real life was, "Goodbye, my love!" And then I rammed right into a thing. But that movie was that funny, and he was that funny. And to think that he did Masked, Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, all in a row. They all came out in 1994.
Yes.
Crazy. Who has a year like that, you know?
That's like
somebody's phone's going off.
That's probably Cool Dude Alert.
That's the.
What was that?
It's probably the Cool Dude Alert.
Cool Dude Alert.
Yeah.
Cool Dude Alert.
Cool Dude Alert.
That punches cool him in the chest.
Alert.
The next one I had on there was The Mask, which you said 94. And I was trying to think, like, that year of those three great comedy movies, like, the only person I could think of, it's the comedy version of, like, Sidney Poitier had one year where he did In the Heat of the Night, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and what's the one where he's a teacher? To Sir with Love, all in the same, in 67. So that's the Carrey version of that.
This is really a film school class that we're in.
I'm just saying, what an
amazing
You know what? I got to figure it out. You're reading it backwards. That's what you're doing.
Out of the three of those films, Mask comes in last for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Worst?
Well, I'm not worst out of those three films.
We've already said this is 10 best.
Yeah. Masked is out of those three films, Masked is the least kind of dependent upon him because you've got the cartoon stuff to play with and
you could believe that there's another comedic actor who could have pulled off a similar character.
Yeah.
It would have been, pretty same.
I think Dumb and Dumber and Ace Ventura are the real unique ones. You know what I mean? Out of that. Masked is...
you see all these superhero movies, and they're all the same, kind of, like, taking themselves too seriously. But still, even after all the fucking ones they make, The Mask is one that still stands out. It's just like funny
I don't think it's ever
superhero
talked
movie.
about, though. I don't think that people get in any kind of superhero movie thing and talk about Masked. I don't think.
No, they don't. But
I don't think they get in a comedy thing and talk about Masked either.
Because he was kind of a villain at first. He was kind of doing
once
wrong
he had the
with
mask
it.
on, yeah. But see, to me, it's almost like that mask keeps it from being totally his.
Right.
In my opinion, I mean the fact that he put the mask on the dog and the dog was kind of funny.
The dog was hilarious.
Yeah. And then Cameron Diaz's ass that always throw me off. So I don't know where everything was at there. I like it. It should have made your top 10. I don't know if it's the tops of all. Yeah, I think that's the weird, unique one. All right, what do you got next?
Liar, Liar.
Funny.
Man, I probably watched that 100 times when I was a kid. And that's one that, like, he made another one, Yes Man, which is basically just like a bad version of Liar Liar. It's a thing where he has to agree with everything, or has to just say the same, kind of stick to the same.
Liar Liar proves how
thing.
funny it is that it's a silly concept that just worked.
It could be a silly, stupid, one joke kind of concept that he makes funny for a full movie.
Yeah.
It's probably not one of my favorites, like if I just thought of it, but I do love that movie, and it definitely deserves to be up high. I mean, there's a thing from that movie that I think of constantly, which is just crazy, is when he gets the baseball glove and the stepdad turns to him and is like, "Thanks, Dad." He's like, "You're welcome, son."
Yeah, right.
And I think of that constantly anytime I hear like an adult doing that obnoxious like,
"Hey, what did Dad get for you?" "Great job, Dad."
Liar Liar is also my favorite movie to watch on TV because they do that TV edit in the scene where he's beating himself up in the bathroom because he can't live in the courtroom, and the guy walks in, he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm kicking my ass." And he says the A is so wide, but they edit it to butt, but it's so clear his mouth is so agape, and it's just like butt. His mouth is open for a good 5 seconds.
There's something really funny too where he's on the stairs of the fucking at the airport. He's just doing the stairs real hard. You see him out the window. It's like that shouldn't be a funny scene, but he is so ridiculously of a funny guy that it works.
So when he's like testing the pen and he's trying to see if he can make the pen red and just write that it's red. And he's like, "The pen is blue! The goddamn pen is blue!"
All right, Dan has put together the top 10, and I'm going to say right now, I don't see a lot of agreement so far in this line.
Controversy is what this is.
Controversy is here. It's up on the iBank. Feel free to jump in with your own list or anything you want to do with it. Where are we at now? Are we up to number 3?
Number 3, and these they're all ranked here. I think these 3 are miles above the rest. But number 3, I put Man on the Moon, where he plays a biopic, Andy Kaufman, and I mean that's just
it's really good. And I was an Andy Kaufman fan. There's not as much comedy in that as, it's more being peculiar.
Yeah.
But it's bizarre how well he does.
He's good.
Andy. It's crazy.
Nails the mannerisms and everything of this very weird guy, and also has to play Andy Kaufman and Tony Clifton.
Right.
Which he does both in, I don't know. I mean, I think that he won several awards, like a Golden Globe and shit, and I mean he was just amazing in that one.
But it didn't do as good as the box offices you won. Did not make a lot of money.
I don't know the numbers. I got to check the figures.
We could easily do it. We could go to Box Office Mojo right now.
I would say it's top 5 material though. Would you agree with that?
It's so peculiar and so strange, and it's truly not a comedy in the regular sense. It's more of like looking at a comedian.
It lost $50 million.
Where?
It brought in. It cost $82 million to make. It brought in $35 million.
So you're saying it cost what?
$82 million to make.
For what?
That was the production.
Where did they
so
spend
much.
that money?
Maybe getting that Mighty Mouse record.
Yeah, that's
It's tough to get on
that
vinyl.
doesn't look like an $82 million movie.
That's shocking to me.
Maybe a big chunk of it went to Carrey, because this is probably around the time he was getting $20 million a movie.
Right.
Yeah.
It could be.
Okay, so where's the other 60?
Where's it at?
Even then, like, I don't think you should do the small weird movie and still get your 20 mil. I'm gonna say that. We'll do Mask 3.
The Clifton costume was expensive.
So that was a disappointing thing, and for you're Mr. Box Office.
I know.
There you go. But, all right, so that's number 3. All right, what's your number 2?
It's also not a comedy, but I think it's the best movie of all these is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
It's a great movie.
And it's something... all right.
Could you put young Tom Hanks in that? You know what I mean? Could you put Ed Norton into that role?
I see what you're saying.
There's a lot of good actors could have played that role.
Now, I will say he brought something to the movie that wouldn't have been there with those actors. Like there was something that was only uniquely him, but could that have been a great movie without
uniquely
him?
Bill Murray.
Yeah.
Could have been uniquely Tom Hanks.
I think it's amazing, like Charlie Kaufman movie, but I also think there's something with Jim Carrey playing against the shit he can do so well in Ace Ventura, Liar Liar, all those movies, and playing the more reserved and kind of deferring to to Kate Winslet and having her be the more eccentric, free spirit type. That I was really surprised at how well he did with that. That it wasn't a distraction at all. It didn't take away anything from it. And
I
it was
wasn't
still an
surprised.
amazing
I think
movie.
he's good. So I was not surprised that he was able to be a team player with it because I've seen him do it before.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's good. All right. Does everybody think they know what his number one is?
Yeah, I know what his number one is. Because should I say it?
Now, why do you know? Did you go look? Or
I
you
swear to
just...
God, I was actually working it out in my head.
We're just having a conversation.
You turn
I
everything...
swear to God. I would not lie to you.
Seriously, everything becomes the Mexican standoff in Reservoir Dogs with this fucking guy. So he's just ready. Don't you fucking put that gun.
Stop pointing that gun at my dad.
All right, what do you got?
It's the Truman Show.
It's the Truman Show.
People love the Truman Show, although no one showed up for it. And I don't even think the critics were that kind to it, were they?
No, they weren't.
I mean, it didn't get like the best picture thing
No.
that they were looking for. What is it that you love about it so much?
I remember seeing it as a kid and thinking like, oh, this is a funny movie. It's like a fun concept. And then rewatching it again and like, oh, this is a really dark movie. And it hits, I think, all of those notes well. Like it never kind of dips into kind of like over sentimental Malden shit. And it also doesn't dip into like Ed TV had the same premise and was way more stupid. So it struck that balance.
See, here's the thing though. Are we saying that these are just the best movies that he happened to be in, or these are his best performances?
I think this was probably his best performance.
See, I would
think.
disagree. Again, I think you could have taken Tom Hanks, put him in that role. You take any everyman, put him in that role, they could do it.
Well, Tom Hanks is an amazing actor, so there's a lot of ones you could search.
All right, so I'm going to say you could take the top 10 guys, put them in that role. You know, it was a good role for him to get. I don't think, like if we sat around, we were talking about great actors. I think one of the things is if you look at My Left Foot, right? Mm-hmm. How many other actors could have fucking pulled that off? And that's why that guy always makes the top actor list. You know what I mean? He's always right up there because he's got a role that no one else that you could think of could have done it. Yeah. And that's the way that I feel about that silly fucking comedy of Pet Detective is that it's not a good movie. It's a shitty movie. Right. These movies are better movies, but the performance there couldn't have been done.
I mean, if you're talking about performance,
you
could throw When Nature Calls in there. I mean, I'm going to say it. I like When Nature Calls.
So do I.
I loved it. And remember the feeling of being like, there's no way this is going to be as good as the first one. Like, I was obsessed with the first one and was like, this is it.
I would say this, though. Get a little hot in these rhinos. There's not too many people that could pull that off. And the Monopoly Man when he was
God, yeah.
Do not pass go. Do not like $200.
When he was slapping around the Monopoly Man, it was hilarious. So there's a chance for him to show his real comedy. Now, is the other ones that you're talking about better films? Your top three? Yeah, I'm going to say better films. But I would make the argument, or at least the discussion, does that make it a better performance?
But wouldn't you say that a great performance is one that shows his range and not a more...
I think his range that he showed in Ace Ventura is off the fucking charts.
It's shocking.
The other place, like, you can show that you can bring your range down.
Yeah.
And by the way, we do this with Steve Martin, Robin Williams. Like, Robin Williams, he wasn't being real funny. He was crying. So let's nominate him for the Oscar.
Right.
We do that all the time, and it's almost a way of shitting on comedy.
Yeah, it's going on the assumption that being funny is easy.
Right.
So then by that measure, Robin Williams as Mork is better than him in Good Will Hunting because other people could have been that shrink and no one else could have been Mork.
Now, I think it's interesting that he can do both.
Yes.
But I can tell you that I remember when Mork came on TV, and fucking America was stunned. They were like, I don't, because I didn't see the first one. And I saw friends of mine, they're like, look, did you see TV last night? I'm like, no. And they're like, listen to me. something fucking happened. Everyone's talking. And wherever I went, people were like, I don't know what the fuck just happened. And this was just from a guy going out acting like they didn't know human beings would act that way.
I remember the one line from the first episode. It was so stupid, but it stuck with me. It's like he's talking to Orson, and he's in Boulder, Colorado, and then at the end, a giant boulder falls on him, and he has to duck. And he's like, oh, it's a good thing I didn't land in Buffalo. And it's just such a stupid line, but just stuck with me.
So, yeah, we could always make that thing that is some reason, you know, it goes back to the thing is, can you be a great performer in something that's not necessarily a great movie? And most people are asked to do that. But I remember Eddie Murphy laughing when they put him up for that Motown movie. And he goes, if you're going to fucking compare the Motown movie to me playing all the clumps, you're fucking crazy. Right. He goes, I went in and did that without thinking about it. Right. I busted my ass playing those fucking clumps.
I was 6 guys in the barbershop scene in Coming to America.
I mean, that shit is amazing.
Right.
And critics aren't willing to say. But those things that he did in Coming to America,
yes.
That's not acting. That's not fucking great. Right. That's not pure greatness. And yet we don't reward that.
Coming to America is another fucking great one that for some reason nobody liked. I read this old Playboy interview with Eddie Murphy, and they were it was like right after Coming to America came out, and they were kind of asking him to apologize for it. So like, so you wouldn't do anything differently with that movie? No regrets about what you did? He's like, no, it's a fucking funny movie. I like the movie.
Itself, the premise is embarrassing. They have for some reason, black people are in this European castle. You know what I mean? Like, and all that is dumb. But the performer rises above it. And good comedy always seems like it rises. I mean, I just brought up Steve Martin. The Jerk should not work. It's fucking stupid on every level.
Right.
And, you know, you'll watch that today and you're cracking up. And it's basically just Steve Martin. There's nothing else in that movie that's working.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's harder than that? Because then you're carrying whatever dumb premise. Like,
it's everything.
Like The Pet Detective is a terrible premise. Like, how would that be a movie?
Yeah. I think that a really funny person can just do that line that isn't even brilliant, but they do it so funny. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I always remember with Ricky Gervais, the thing that killed me at all that first season is the laugh that I had when he just yelled out, "There's been a rape up there." I mean, how are you supposed to get a laugh with the line, "There's been a rape up there"? And I had tears coming out of my eyes the first time, and I remember thinking, this motherfucker's unbelievable. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I would give him that thing of just like this, to be able to pull that off. And if you think of how many lines that he would just get his feelings hurt and he's backing up and you're like, I'm laughing his uncomfortability.
And there is that weird, like you said, it's a good point of discomfort with just the straight comedy for it. Because one of the most famous scenes from The Office is when he does that dance, which people still ask him to do. And he's talked about how he was very close to cutting it out because they were like, I don't know if it fits. It's a little silly and stupid. And they were this close to cutting it. Like, well, I guess we'll leave it in. And that became one of the most.
Well, it's very hard when you're being funny to ever completely get to see how it plays from the outside. You know what I mean? And that's why, you know, somebody like Jerry Lewis that starts to say this is why it was funny, he's probably even wrong. Right. But how many times have we done this show and then someone says to you, that break had me laughing? You're like, that break? I was really mad at Chris during that break. You know what I mean? Like,
that break,
it's not necessarily the stuff.
That's a dark memory.
Yeah. All right, so let's go through whether or not you like the list. Let's go to your best friend, Joey Jojo. Would you give this list a pass or fail?
Well, I'm saying this as a friend. Confidant, mentor.
Confidant.
You, have you seen a Jim Carrey movie before? Also, Me, Myself, and Irene is like my favorite
that's
movie.
A great one.
And
that's really funny.
He plays two people, the nicest person and the most violent person.
And also, let's remember this, he has the funniest children of anyone. And, I mean, the weirdness of those giant bruiser geniuses as children, Me, Myself, and Irene should have made the list.
Yeah.
And I would have forgotten about it. You said what didn't make the list for you too was the.
Yeah.
You would have
Sequel.
given the same.
One, that would be one and then two.
Number two.
It would be the first, my top two.
And 3 through 10 is just scenes from those two movies.
All right, let me go back to your confidant, your mentor. Would you give him a pass or fail?
Oh, I'll fail.
Failed.
But it's not against you personally.
No. I understand, man.
I'm gonna give, even though we have a lot of disagreements, I feel like it's a gentleman's disagreement we're having. I'm gonna give you a pass. I think it's a good list. It's just not my list.
That's fine. We all get to make our own lists in life.
I mean, Joe's hard to please. We all know
Yeah,
that.
I know.
He's a tough nut to crack.
Oh, yeah.
Even that sentence I'm not too proud of.
He's the people's champion. There's no doubt.
Even though you were able to confide in him, you know?
Oh, the confidant till the end.
Is there anything else that he missed in there, Chris, for you?
No, he outside of me, myself, and Irene, he definitely just put everything else in the wrong order. Like this, I can't tell you how much I hated that list. It's just
The jumble.
it was
The order of the list that made you mad.
Angry.
really crazy.
Yeah. What would your number one have been?
Ace Ventura. Ace Ventura is number one.
What would have been number two?
Number two would have been Dumb and Dumber. That's 1 and 2.
And then three, you got Cable Guy, right?
And 3, Cable Guy. Yeah, that's it. Though that's the goddamn holy trinity of Jim Carrey movies and roles.
Wow, I didn't even know we were going for Trinities.
Wow.
That could be a new game. Give us
The
the
Holy
Trinity.
Trinity.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, too, about Ace Ventura 2. Most people don't know this, but he is also playing Dan Marino in the whole thing.
No, that would have been one.
Oh, yeah, so, Jesus. And number one.
Yeah.
As your confidant, I got it.
Who played the girl in that? What was the actress's name?
Courtney Cox.
No, but the other mean
Einhorn.
that ended up having the nuts in the
Yeah,
second.
Einhorn.
Yeah.
She ended up with a pair- well, she was a famous actress at the time. Everything fell apart for her. Everyone in Hollywood ended up despising her.
I'm finding the cast list.
Yeah.
Sean Young.
Thank you very much.
Hey.
Sean Young was she was drifting down then. It was like a bunch of bad shit had come out about her. And she did that movie. I thought she was amazing in it.
Oh shit, she was in Wall Street. She was the girl in Wall Street. Oh wow.
And during Wall Street, Charlie Sheen had taped the word cunt to her back. Because he couldn't stand her and other people didn't like her. She apparently had done some crazy shit, though. Who, Sean? Or Charlie?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, of course he's a jerk. You
This
can't
is
help
not
it.
something adults do, is tape things to each other's backs.
Well, we taped some stuff to your back today.
What? What does it
It
say?
just says nice to see your back.
Oh.
You know?
It's
That
not
was
so
the
bad, I
joke
guess.
there. That was the big joke. So Man on the Moon was your number 3, right?
Yes.
Would anybody have put that in that top thing? Because it's one of those things that he did everything he was supposed to be, but at the end of it, I don't know whether you really. I don't know what you get out of that movie.
I think for me, it definitely would be in top 10, and I would put it in top 5, probably somewhere around 4 or 5, for sure, for me. Yeah.
What would your number 1 have been?
Ace Ventura. 1, and then Ace Ventura 2 as in number 2.
And then hopefully the third Ace Ventura that he never made.
The reboot.
I'm leaving that slot
It
open.
would be the best. You're leaving it vacant just
It
in
was
case.
really, if you really go back to that, about that same year, that's just about when Adam Sandler started to
Yeah.
make his money, and about the same time Tommy Boy came out. There was a real new kind of bubbling of silly comedy at that time, and all those. I mean, obviously, we had a death, but the other two guys are still around and still stars. Is Carrey still as funny to you as he always was? I just find everything about him to be pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I just think he's great.
I always laugh whenever he shows up anywhere. It's like, oh shit, there's Jim Carrey. There's the guy. There's the dude.
The weird thing is I kind of feel like we almost have always expected more out of him. You know what I mean? Like, because he's so great. And that first year, that it's almost like we've Tiger Woods, the poor bastard, and we're driving him crazy. Because we're like, why don't you have 6 Oscars by now?
Come on, man.
I still love him though.
Yeah,
I'll
me
always
too.
love him. And you've talked about this before. This the people that you love when you were young are always the people who you would be most in awe of if you met.
If Jim Carrey walked in here right now, it'd be.
Oh yeah, I would be completely freaked out.
And he's a guy who, as fucking funny as he is, just when hearing him talk in like interviews and stuff, he like Chappelle are just two guys that are just brilliant. And you could just see that, even though will do the silly, ridiculous comedy, there's just like a brilliant fucking mind behind it.
I always thought that the Chappelle Eddie Murphy fucking scene in the bar when Eddie Murphy is the heckler and Chappelle's on stage.
Yes.
I think it literally, first of all, it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen, but it's almost like they put up a sign that says, "Isn't comedy so fucking embarrassing?" Like they tore down. Oh, I see. Because you got some things that you say. I mean, Eddie Murphy just shits over crowd work. Just crushes the entire art of crowd work.
Bitches be shopping.
Yeah. All right. Why don't we go to break here? We're going to play an Unmasked today, right? Because we've got the Jim Gaffigan Unmasked. So what are we going to play now?
We're playing the Jim Gaffigan Unmasked, the original.
This is the first Unmasked that we did with him like 6 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I know. I've never heard it since. And somebody told me that he took the video of that and put it on one of his CDs, but I had never seen it, or one of his DVDs. Can't really put it on a CD. But this Friday, are we going to be playing?
This Friday, yes.
The new Jim Gaffigan with his wife, Jeannie, and him. So, we break first?
We're going to break first.
We're break, and we're going to go back and play you a piece that we did. Nice to have you here.
It's good to be here.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm about to be interrogated.
Well, in the back you were worried about crying.
I told myself I wasn't gonna, but we'll see. I'm very vulnerable right now.
So your mother, how did you feel about your mother?
She died yesterday, thanks for bringing it up. But that's all right.
You sure you don't want to just let it out a little bit?
I'm over it, day. Spent some hours, now I'm good.
I want you to think back about every birthday you had with her and Christmas.
Yeah, those special moments.
Yeah.
But, I have no feelings.
Oh, none at all. Well, that's because you're from the Midwest.
Yes, we're a very stoic people. Or boring, whatever you prefer.
They always bring up Midwestern sensibility.
Yeah.
What exactly does that even mean?
I always think of the Midwest thing as kind of a sham that they tricked people to move there because it's not the West and it's not the middle. And it's like they were trying to get people to move there. They're like, where are you going? Oh, we're going out west. Oh, hey, you should move to the Midwest. What do you got there? We got lakes that are great lakes. I don't know. The Midwest thing, it's, growing up in a small town, now I go into Mellencamp. No, I never really saw them. Like, literally, I remember being 8 years old and looking around and saying, there's been a mistake. But moving to New York, I realized how Midwestern I am. But the sensibility, I don't know. I definitely was influenced by Letterman and, Bill Murray, and those guys are from the Midwest.
When you say that, like, here you are, 8 years old, and I guess at that point you liked show business, you were already, a fan?
Yeah, well, I never really saw it as an option. I mean, this is way before Comedy Central, and, in my town, the entertainment was like the marching band, so there was...
That is the Midwest.
There was not anything. You would only see stand-up on the Tonight Show, and that would be infrequent, and so the concept of going into entertainment was really just really a pipe dream.
It's nothing you would even share with people.
No, not really. I mean, I do remember my mom asking my brother and I what we wanted to be, and my brother said he wanted to be a helicopter pilot, and I said I wanted to be an actress, but I mean, I did want to be an actor in the entertainment industry, but I didn't see it as very realistic.
Right.
It was, it was up there with like being an astronaut. I knew I wasn't that smart.
So at a certain point, you said to yourself, I'm getting out of here and I'm going to head to New York. And you said at that point you realized you weren't the 8-year-old hipster that you thought when you were a kid.
No.
When you were a kid.
I didn't realize how Midwestern I was until I came to New York. And, I've joked around about it, but, people literally looked at me like I was John Tesh. I was, they're like, does this guy realize what he looks like? So, but I moved to New York not even realizing that I was going to go into stand-up and acting. I moved here just because I had always, even growing up watching The Odd Couple, it looked like there was always something going on in New York, and it was fun. And it sounds insincere, but I truly love like the diversity of like the subway and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so I moved to New York kind of knowing that I would hopefully find my way. But I was definitely raised in a family that was very security driven, meaning, you get a job that you won't get fired from. You go to college not for education, but so that you can get a good job. And then I was just kind of like, well, I'll just give it a whirl.
And your family had to think, what the hell's he doing? He's going against...
it was more or less like announcing that I wanted to live on the moon,
Yeah.
But I was the youngest and kind of the crazy one, and so I definitely kept my day job for a long time, and there was about 6 or 7 years where I would work 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, and then I would go to acting classes from like 6 or 7 to 9, and then I would go and do stand-up, and then I would go home and get bald, stuff like that, So lose hair, I guess, is the term.
Oh, now I got it. When you were getting bald down at your house, I know we're satellite.
I was getting bald. No. You've got a dirty mind.
Yeah. I thought you were taking it up the ass. I had no idea. That's my mistake.
It's not doing that. That would have been really exhausting after that.
That is a tremendous...
Now I gotta go and get bald?
Yeah. That is a long day.
Yeah, that is a long day. Yeah.
More than what you were
tired and sore in the morning. Yeah.
I just don't know if I'm going to make it in the schedule. Yeah. Were you telling your family back in Indiana what you were up to, or did you just keep that quiet to yourself?
I had expressed that I was dabbling in it a little bit, and it was definitely considered kind of a cute thing to do. It was a hobby, but it seemed very impractical. But as long as I had a day job, they didn't think I was that crazy.
So as long as you didn't take that full leap into full-time comedy. Now here you are committing for 6 years with acting and stand-up. Yeah. And at that point, you still didn't know whether you're going to be able to make a living at it.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, there was, I definitely had no expectation of making a living or really, being that good at any of it, really. It was, there is something of the insane pursuit and drive of most performers. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know, I knew that I enjoyed the process. I still enjoy the process of writing and coming up with a new joke. I think most comedians would admit that the new joke that they've come up with is always their favorite joke. But it was definitely not an expectation. I always thought that I would have a day job and do stand-up at night and maybe do stand-up on the weekend. I always had the goal of maybe doing Letterman or Conan, but...
Were you seeing guys that you were working with going on and...
Oh, yeah. I was definitely the last one. There's different kind of generations.
Right.
When I started, there was the Attell and Louis and Todd Barry. Those guys were all kind of getting spots in clubs. And, when I started, Greg Giraldo and Ian Bagg and Bonnie McFarlane, we all kind of started at the same time, and it was quite possibly it was the end of this comedy boom of the 80s, where they were literally closing down clubs because A&E had kind of ruined it. And so there was this huge amount of comedians and not a lot of spots. So it was, for people like Giraldo and I, it was literally like, we might as well gone into like phonograph repairman. It was, there were a lot of like seasoned comedians that were just like, you guys are not going to get spots.
Right.
There's people that have been doing it 5-6 years ahead of you. And there was that young crop above us, like Louis and Attell, that were so good. So it was definitely a pretty insane.
Yeah, there is almost like a high school thing where you're like a freshman at first, and no matter what you have, you're going to have to wait for your spots. And you can't sometimes imagine yourself, doing as good as those guys been doing for a few years.
And when I, of that class, like Giraldo had gotten a development deal in his own show, and, a bunch of my other peers had already done Conan or Letterman. And so there was definitely like around 7 years where it was kind of a realization like, all right, well, I might just not ever do those shows. I might just be like the journeyman guy who does stand-up, who's, hopefully respected by my peers, but there wasn't, kind of like, all I gotta do is one more year and then I'll get this. There was definitely this stark reality of like, it's not gonna work. You're a lunatic and you're going bald, or you're getting bald.
So, as far your big dreams was just to work, just to be able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely got to a point where, I think like a lot of comedians, I had done stand-up for 6 months, and I was like, I'm ready for Letterman. And then after like 7 years, I kind of had to come to the realization that, the process of doing stand-up and coming up with jokes, and, I was doing some commercials. I was like, that's I'm making a living, not necessarily doing stand-up, but I'm making a living in the entertainment industry. So that's, in a way, that exceeded expectations, but it was definitely, a harsh reality, because there were plenty of people that were going on their third or fourth Conan appearance, and it was just, I would audition and just have horrible sets, and like the booker, like I would be here and the booker would just run out, so it's,
And also, starting in New York, that can't be easy. Particularly when you don't have the New York attitude. Because a lot of times it helps if you jump up there, you're a dirty comic, or you're yelling, let's get the energy going. Where you remind me of that Brian Regan, nice guy, not going to push his way to the front of the line.
Well, my stand-up definitely went through a lot of different changes, but I am a slow talking Midwesterner, and as opposed to like Attell or Bobby Kelly, it is a little bit of a pacing change. But when I started, I did go through, like, I would do material about my father, and then I would do, when for a short period, the only credit I had was that Dave Attell thought I was funny, and I was very kind of, it was a big accomplishment, and I still think it's,
and I agree with you 100% that at a certain point, if someone says to you, hey, somebody that you respect, hey, I like what you're doing, that can give you another couple years.
That's better than Caroline's Comedy Hour.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it.
But I was very kind of, irreverent driven, and, would curse and stuff like that. And, obviously I curse in everyday life, and some of it is just, stylistically, I kind of moved to, wanting to make, to attack kind of really universal topics. I kind of like the challenge of making, a hammock funny, and if you are talking about, say, bacon, it's not really necessary to curse, so it's. And some of it is, when you write a dirty joke, whether it's, a great long joke or not, it's hard to follow that. If you do a great dirty joke or a joke about sex, then you can't follow that with discussing ketchup. You know what I mean? It just seems kind of, awkward.
Well, do you ever find yourself going, I wrote a great joke, but I can't use it because it doesn't fit into the Gaffigan?
I mean, there's definitely things that are really, much darker than, my stand-up is, But, I like to think that there's a little bit of nihilism in my stand-up.
Yeah, it is unique, although I will say the one person that you kind of remind me of is David Letterman, who's also from Indiana. Like, I think that the interesting thing about what you're doing there is that you do bring your past on stage with you,
Yeah.
Particularly when I hear you talk about faith and stuff, because I don't hear comics get into stuff like that.
Well, the weird thing, I mean, I am married to a woman who is very Catholic, and I call it Shiite Catholic, but she is. And the weird thing is, like, I think that similar to my stand-up, it's like, the religion thing. I almost, it's like, like there's certain things in stand-up comedy that are considered like, really, you're going to do religion jokes? It's like, they've been around for thousands of years. It's been mined to death. Why would you bother? And I almost kind of like that challenge of it. But my personal view on religion is such that, I went through the period where I was like, I was raised Catholic. I hate the Catholic Church. I hate them, to kind of like, it's almost like this contrarian view where I almost wanted to adopt the contrarian view to what I had in my 20s. And I don't know, there is something about, I always had kind of religion jokes, but, there's something, the greater the risk, meaning like if it is a topic that's been mined to death, or if it is a topic that, whether, there's some part of the audience that is diehard secular or some part of the audience that's diehard Christian, that like if it's a bigger risk, the reward is greater. So like if there's secular people in the audience going, really, he's talking about Abraham? But if it's a great joke, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I always feel like, in small doses, that's kind of entertaining.
So you'll try to lead them into places where they think they've gone before, and you want to take them somewhere else with it.
Hopefully. Or I'll lead them into something where they have, preconditioning to think that, like, this is a tired topic.
Right.
Hopefully.
And even with your persona, because your persona will change on stage a couple of times, and the surprise is very big in just about everything that you do. But now that you're more and more known, the audience has got to be thinking, trying to like guess one step ahead of you, I would guess.
Yeah. I mean, well, I hopefully it's, what's so great about stand-up is you are kind of always evolving, and hopefully, things that are important, like I'll listen to stuff from my first CD that I did with Comedy Central, and, it's like there's really no food on there. And then the second one is just like, it's like I had a couple kids and I became a pig, And so it's kind of always evolving, and stylistically it's changing too. But, the inside voice of talking with the audience, it's, there's times when I use it a lot and there's times when I don't, but I don't know. It's always kind of changing. Hopefully in 10 years, it'll be, a different kind of show. It'll evolve a lot more.
That's interesting, because a lot of comics that you see that are in their 40s or whatever still hold on to the 21, 22-year-old street corner persona, and they're a lot better at it than they were at 21 or 22. But you're like, well, I know you do have kids, and all this stuff is false. You know?
Yeah.
For you, it's important to bring some of what's really happening in your life?
Well, I'm a big believer in keeping the topics universal. I mean, when I started stand-up, I would see, guys that would be like, I got a wife and 2 kids, blah, 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 for the entire set. And it was, people do it really well. But, like, when I was, 25, I would be like, I can't even get a date. And this guy's, so there is some, I do want to talk about something that everyone can relate to, hopefully. And, I also feel like, I've done biographical stuff, but I really kind of feel like unless you're like Richard Pryor, people aren't that interested in your life. I mean, in my opinion, it's like, I kind of like things that I can keep hammering on.
Well, that's the great thing that you did when you brought up the internal voice that you talked about for the audience, is that I do think comics, when they're not getting a laugh from the whole room, do kind of put that voice in other people's heads,
Oh, yeah.
So
definitely.
I think comics love that material of yours and can get it a lot more. But how did that get born? How did that come out?
Well, there's different kind of things that, as I've done interviews, because I used to always say that, I would do characters when I couldn't get stage time. I would do characters on the Lower East Side in places like this place called Surf Reality. And, it was, a lot of people were doing characters. And one of the characters was an older lady that's just completely dissatisfied, just complains about everything. And I did have a joke about my sister. Like when you start stand-up, there's always people that like give backwards advice, kind of like, you should get a book on comedy. So it's very kind of, but that, the talking for other people and using it as a tool to disarm them has always been, like my wife pointed out, that's, when I was dating her, I would do that. Like if I was late, I would come up to her and go, I can't believe you're late. And it does disarm people. But in stand-up, what I love about it is that, it's an additional point of view and where you can go a completely different track. And it also, I find that, if you are talking, not that I'm edgy or incredibly edgy, if you are talking about a topic, if you address it, the audience, as long as they know that you're aware that you might be crossing a line, that'll give you permission to go further. Or if they know that you've done 5 minutes on bacon, that will allow them to listen to another 3 minutes.
So he knows. Because you couldn't do that voice in like just positive feedback. Like, this guy is great. This bacon bit's killing me.
Yeah. And it is also a very, I started in improv, and there is a very improvisational aspect to it. So if I am in, Phoenix, I'll definitely, use that, address the environment, or I'll, if they just won, like if a team just won the Super Bowl or the World Series and I'm in that city, or if I'm in Boston and I'm from New York, it's just like the inside voice can bring these things up and kind of, it'll hopefully enrich it.
You probably have a better, and living in New York now, growing up in Indiana, you probably have a better feeling about the whole red state, blue state thing. Does that change a lot? Is the way the audience reacts to certain material change around the country? Or?
Well, I think that there's definitely regional differences. It's not that traditional kind of notion of, those people in the Midwest, they've never even heard a joke before, It's like they just got a TV. But, so, I mean, some of it is, it's really energetic and it's fascinating to deal with. It's that fascinating.
So in that, but you would still be able to do the same material in Birmingham as you do in Chicago? You don't have to adjust too much?
There's definitely, so, I mean, my material is very universal, but there's certain, people respond differently to different jokes, like cities like St. Louis and Chicago and Boston are very kind of Catholic cities, so the religion material, they'll love it, but like, I don't know, Birmingham, sometimes you go below the Mason-Dixon line, and it's, if you're talking about Jesus, they assume you're making fun of them. Mm. And so if you just bring up Jesus, they're like, well, this guy should be killed, It's like, they're like, it's kind of like the Muslim drawing a picture of Muhammad. Bringing up the topic is sacrilegious. So
just even mentioning some of your material, even though you know that it's not sacrilegious.
It's gone through. My wife has approved it all. I would not say anything that a crazy Catholic wouldn't be okay with. So.
Well, Catholics are pretty easygoing, fairly with that, I think.
I think
compared to some of the Protestant religions.
Well, it seems like, I just think that, like, with most stand-up, there's the assumption that the attitude is, like, very much like Bill Maher, which is like, Mary was a virgin, that whole attitude. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. It's weird.
I was raised Catholic myself, and the real benefit there is that you don't have to read the Bible. So they even told. I remember being a kid going, "Don't worry, we'll read it for you."
Yeah, it's just great. Like a paragraph or two.
We'll have you recite a few things, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can literally never get, when I go to church, my wife doesn't consider me a real Catholic because I don't go to church or follow any of the church teachings, but, occasionally I'll root for Notre Dame, and I'm an alcoholic, so.
You can still always feel connected, can't you, to the Catholic religion?
It's just like, you're like Boston College? All right, I'll go for Boston College.
This is great. The Pope's in town.
Yes.
And then suddenly you feel it. It's kind of like when some people say, I'm Italian, but they've never been to Italy.
Yeah.
That's about the way it is being a Catholic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you Catholic, it's very much like it's like you get the jersey, but you don't have to play, It's just unfortunate that the coaches over the past couple of years have been really bad, So.
Then the other benefit, too, is knowing that you're one confession away from wiping it all clean.
It's just like that. It's like, thanks, buddy.
Well, that's over.
Yeah.
Woo. Those last 30 years are taken care of.
I mean, there's so much of the Catholic faith that I have, I'm literally ignorant on a lot of it. And I was raised Catholic. I went to a Catholic university, went to a Catholic high school, and my wife will be like, well, you know how to do the rosary? I'm like, I have no idea. It's like before football games, we used to do a Hail Mary, and I just would mumble. I was the captain. I'd be like, Hail Mary, friendly. It's like I have no idea.
It's a lot more lax than you think. I mean, it's very regimented during that 1 hour a week, but then you're just on your own.
Yeah.
And the rosary is too much of a commitment anyway.
That sounds hard. I'm a lazy man.
I got caught as a kid trying to make a lasso out of it, my mom's rosary. It seemed like fun.
Yeah. It's like, what's with this necklace?
When you're bringing up stuff about how long it took you to finally get over, do you think that was a benefit now at this point that you had 7 years of doing the acting, doing the stand-up over and over and over before you started to break through?
Well, when I was in the process of not getting Letterman or Conan for like 5 or 6 years, I would hate myself for saying this. But yeah, I think it did help in waiting, so that I did have this, like by the time I got to Letterman, did Letterman, I was not nervous. I was kind of like, I got to do this. I got to, it's like, I'm not going to mess this up. There wasn't any doubt of whether I was ready. And there was a lot of, I had a lot of material to back it up so that when they did want me to do it again, I was ready. But, the whole thing of, it's, you go through a lot of frustration and just jealousy, and it's very tough because, you know, these guys are your friends and you're like, yeah, go with your network show. I'm going to be seeing if I can get on at 11, you know. So, but it's all a process. And, you know, I think that, you know, I've been very fortunate. You know, my day job was in advertising. I was a copywriter, and while I hated it, it definitely taught me word economy. You know, the getting to the point of something. You know, whether it be, you know, a 15-second television ad or a 60-second radio ad. It's like the efficiency of writing in advertising is something that I take advantage of, and I feel like Dave Attell had a huge influence on most comics in particularly in New York. You know, the efficiency of how they get to a joke. You know, there's great storytellers, but, you know, I think the jokesmith tendencies that, you know, most comics have, it's definitely motivated by Attell. I mean, Attell would just literally come up with, you know, 10 pages of new material every day.
Yeah, he would tell, and still does, tell stories, but the jokes are interweaved, so he's not losing the audience, losing that rhythm.
Yeah.
Which is much more difficult than it looks to the audience.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely.
The audience are thinking, oh, this is just a great story. And that's really, I guess, all they should be thinking about.
Yeah.
But you as a comic, you're sitting there going, bam, 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 bam.
Yeah. And, you know, the whole, like, it's interesting because, you know, like, Attell, like, great jokes, the brevity of them, you know, that they can stand alone, that they're undeniable, self-contained. But, you know, also building, I like to find a topic and really just mine it from every possible angle. You know, and I'm sure I picked that up from somebody, but I literally, when I do a topic, whether it's like bacon or ketchup, it's like, or camping, you know, I want to like be able to have like gotten every corner of that so that when I am done with it, you know.
Are you still working on Hot Pockets, or you feel like you're done with that one? Yeah.
You know, the Hot Pockets thing, it's interesting because they keep introducing new products. So it's really, I think it'll never end, you know. It's everything will be in a pocket. And I think like most everyone in this room, it's like the first time you saw a Hot Pocket, you're like, that's pretty silly. And now it's literally what everybody's, you know, in college, everyone that has like a teenage kid, you know, every single guy has some Hot Pockets, and either that or they care about what they eat, you know. But the Hot Pockets thing, it's, you know, obviously it's a blessing and a curse. You know, I don't need more people yelling Hot Pocket at me in the airport, but it's, it's interesting because there were the comedy nerds that liked it, and now it's gotten to the point where I'll walk by a bar and some drunk guy in a tank top will just run out and yell Hot Pockets. So there's been an evolution from like the comedy nerd who knows all about comedy to like the guy that I can't even imagine him sitting in front of YouTube.
Yeah.
You know?
He just somehow thinks now you invented Hot Pockets.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
By the time you did the Letterman, and you had the acting experience, is that when you got offered the show?
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. You know, I was so relieved to do it, and you know, I couldn't remember a moment of it really, because I literally had set myself up where I could do it in my sleep. And I did the set and I came off, and they said that Dave and his partner wanted to talk to me, and they eventually offered me the show. And it was like, that's one of those, there's certain moments in the entertainment industry where you're like, wow, now it's all easy from here. And of course it isn't, but that was an incredible opportunity. And I think the entertainment industry is very much, once someone says this guy's okay, then everyone's like, oh yeah, I always thought he was okay. So it's like, once Letterman thought I was funny, that opened like a lot of doors. And, the TV show didn't work, but it, it gave me an opportunity for people to see me act and stuff like that. So.
Now, how much control did you have over that show? Since it's based on your character, your experiences?
Not much at all. I mean, it's, my character's name was Jim Gaffigan, and I literally couldn't write lines for Jim Gaffigan. And so it's very frustrating. I mean, we've had plenty of friends, the fellow comedians, that have had shows that have been embarrassing, and my show was not embarrassing. It was a quality show, I think, but I didn't have any influence. And the idea that I wanted the show to be like that. This Midwestern guy. People thought he was an idiot, but he was actually smarter than everyone. And like the New Yorkers were the ones that didn't get. I wanted to do like an inverted Woody of Cheers, but because I didn't have that influence, I kind of ended up being just Woody from Cheers. And then I just started playing a lot of dumb guys. So.
Well, it's a very funny thing that they do that with stand-ups. They bring them in, and then they try to make all the jokes around them. They kind of they turn every stand-up into Barney Miller, where suddenly now you're setting up a bunch of other people to insult you.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult doing a television show. I think there's also something about, unless you are, someone like Bob Newhart, where, he was so huge, or you're Bill Cosby, or, they know your point of view so they can write for you. Otherwise, I think that a lot of writers are like, yeah, I can make some money off this guy, and they don't have to write in your voice. So I think there is something to be said for really, you gotta make sure that people understand your point of view, but there's very few opportunities for people to really kind of get it.
And even the guys that you mentioned had failed shows, before and after their big shows. It's a very tough thing to pull off. Do you find yourself watching movies going, come on, I could have killed this part. That would have been perfect for me.
I mean, there's definitely moments where I feel like I could do something fun, but it's also, I've auditioned for things and seen people in roles and gone, oh yeah, that guy was, they should have hired that guy. Yeah, he totally did it right.
Do you need to be in LA too for a lot of those roles? I mean, should you be in Los Angeles instead of New York?
I think that 95% of the work is there. I mean, if you're a Broadway actor, I think New York is, great, but all the work is there, and by the time they come to New York, they're looking for a store clerk for a 1-minute scene with Harrison Ford, and so but I don't know. I love New York. I love the energy of New York. I don't like sunlight, I don't know. There's something about, it's a cliche, but I like LA. I like the people in LA, but it just, I don't know. New York, there's an energy.
Yeah. And I'm like you. I'm an adopted New Yorker, and I tend, I think, to love the city more than even a lot of people that were born here, who just don't really understand sometimes how great it is to live here.
Yeah, and I'm more than aware of how white bread I am too. I'll be on the subway and I'll see some tourists from Iowa and I'll be like, they're so out of where'd they come from? And then I'll realize that I look like I'm a relative of theirs. But I love that though.
So you're going to stay in the city. You're going to balance all these things. You've got
hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, the LA thing. It might be unavoidable, and most shows are shot in LA. But I don't know. It's New York is kind of. I travel all around, and there's a lot of great cities. But I don't know. There's just something about New York that. It's certainly, there's convenience, but it's not great to, it's not easy to raise 2 children in New York, but we're doing it because we're crazy.
Sure. Well, something's going to be happening here for you. Do you know, is there a certain thing that you said yourself, this is exactly where I'm going to be? Because I have the feeling that you're not feeling like that yet. I don't think that you feel I've made it where I want to be yet, career-wise.
No, well, I think there's a lot of comedians that have done one good hour special, and I think that doing 2 or 3 is definitely, for me and for a lot of comedy nerds, is kind of a measuring stick on how, then you're considered a good comedian. At least for me, that's important. And, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of other things I want to do. I would like to write and direct a movie, but I'm also somebody who likes to sleep till noon, so there's a balancing act there, you know what I mean? I'd also like to be in shape, but I don't want to work out.
I like the fact that you're not willing to pay the price. I think that
it sounds hard, and people will tell me it's like you're just shooting for a month, and I'm like, that seems like a long time.
Yeah. So your bio, basically most things in life are not worth it.
I talk a lot about being lazy. I'm pretty busy, but I romanticize the notion of being lazy. Like, I would love to have the predicament of should I sit down and do nothing, or should I lay down and do nothing? It's like, to me, that is that's what it's all about, I think.
Maybe I'm crazy, but I think there's a film in that.
Yeah,
I know. That's what he's dealing with every day. I promised the people they could ask you some questions.
Okay.
I know you don't generally care for the audience, but this is the time I'm going to ask you to interact with them.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, this beautiful young lady.
Hi, Jim. Huge fan. One question. How did you meet Conan O'Brien, and where did you come up with the idea for Pale Force?
Well, I had met Conan from doing sketches on his show before I did stand-up, and then I had done a bunch of episodes doing stand-up on his show, and it was actually the idea of my brother-in-law, who's a cartoonist for The New Yorker. And when I would go on the show, Conan would either introduce me as the only guy paler than him, or I would address it in kind of the inside voice, saying, he's even paler than, And so there was already kind of like a pale off kind of thing going on, and my brother-in-law is a very talented cartoonist. Came up with this idea, and we pitched it, and they kind of did it as a lark, and then it became like an internet thing. That's too much work too. It's too hard.
So, like, at least do the voiceover. Can you at least do that?
Yeah, no, that's what is so fun about Pale Force, is that I do all the different voices of Conan, and, if there's like if there's a celebrity on there, I do their voice, but, it doesn't have to be that good.
That's a really cool story, though, that you did some sketch work with him, and now you're kind of invited back as a peer. More or less, that's a rare shot for anybody to pick up.
Well, I'm definitely grateful. But, even like I said before, even when I was doing those sketches, I would see friends of mine that would be doing stand-up, and I would be so jealous. I'd be like, yeah, no, that's great. Have a good time. But it all worked out.
Stand-ups do hate their friends. There's
but I don't necessarily, the whole notion that like comedians hate other people's success, I don't think that that's necessarily true, as long as you get to do just one of your goals. Like, if you get to do like Conan or Letterman, then you're like, all right, so you're Chris Rock. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Or I don't know Dane that well, but I don't have any ill feelings towards him. It's like, he's gigantic. He's worth $1 gazillion. It's like, that doesn't bother me. But if I had never done Conan or Letterman, I probably would have a problem. So,
The great thing about Dane Cook now is he's so successful that even his own audience is jealous of him while they're at the Dane Cook show. Really? They're like, I can't believe this. How well he's doing. Yes, sir.
How you guys doing? Big fan of both yours.
Thanks.
You talked earlier about the show that unfortunately didn't work out for you. If you had another opportunity to, I would assume probably do a network show because you talk about how universal your comedy is. What exactly would that show be about, and kind of what would you play if you couldn't do the same show again?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, some of it is I feel like, I would want to do something really good. I just wouldn't want to cash in. Not that that was even part of the question, but it was. I do want, quality to be a certain thing. So I would want to make sure that it was something that I felt strongly about. And I almost feel like, comedies outside of like Ricky Gervais, it's like, I feel like they kind of really struggle today. And network shows, they're, 30 Rock barely got renewed. So it's like, it's a lot of work too, and but I would do. I mean, I obviously I've always thought that I would want to do something like that, but it's also, network shows, it's like, did you get an audience? You're canceled. And then like I feel like on HBO it's like, is there any sex? Are you beating up somebody? Then you're canceled. You know what I mean? Or even in Louis' case, you're cursing and you're criticizing your kids, you're canceled. It's like, so it is one of those things where I would want to do it in a place where I could do kind of stuff that is not completely resting on irreverence, and also not resting on like, and he has a wife that's Jennifer Aniston. You know what I mean? It's like with an unrealistic. Not that my wife's very beautiful, but you know what I mean? It's like where it's like, I just feel like TV is definitely at that phase where it's like, what if 5 models were struggling to make it? I would want it to be a realistic kind of thing.
And your whole life right now, your whole comedy act, you've taken it to the point where you're really trying to just get your own approval. You know what I mean? Like, you feel like you've connected with the audience. Now you want to see if you can take them to a different place. But once you do into that sitcom, it is a matter of numbers and... And, there's, stand-up is... comedians get so spoiled because we're writers and we're the performers and we can edit it. There's all these different variables. It's like suddenly the network, oh, now we're targeting a completely different audience. You're canceled, So, I don't know. And if you're a stand-up, you could, burn all your bridges in Baltimore and be like, okay, I got the rest of the country.
Yeah, I mean, you can hopefully always keep writing,
When you started out as a stand-up, did you have a strict regimen of writing every day, and have you been able to stick with that over the years as you become more successful?
I definitely have gone through different phases of writings. You always look back and you go, what was I like? I have this joke, the manatee joke, and I was like, I always sit there and go, what was I doing when I came up with that? Because I like that joke and it's not about food. But there is no typically what I've done like the past couple of years is I'll write and then I'll sit with my wife and we'll talk about things. My wife's very funny. It's not just some random person.
And beautiful. She's
funny, beautiful, and so we will discuss things. And then there's the variable of writing on stage. So I'll have an idea and then I'll start talking on stage. But some of it is just. And then I'll listen to the set, and it's like I'll repeat that 1,000 times, and maybe I'll end up with one joke. So I do feel like I'm not someone that can, I wish that it was one of those things where it's like the newspaper, oh, Cheney shot someone in the head, blah, 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 blah. It's much more of, I'll think, what's weird about a beanbag chair, and I'll try and just write on that. And there's no formula or process that I can necessarily follow, unfortunately.
Even after all these years, you never thought, here's how I write best. It just, the muse comes when it comes.
It's usually, I would say it's usually later at night You know what? Actually, it's, I'll do notes, and then I'll take a subway to a spot, and actually on the subway is when I'll think of a lot of things, which, there is always kind of like looking at something and going, oh, all right. So, yeah, I would say that the subway does, as brief as that moment is, there is something about looking at it.
Not really, limit your writing to New York City.
Yeah. Topeka, Kansas. Do you have a bus system? Anything? I'm in Disneyland on a train. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's like a certain point in your career where you feel like you kind of found your voice on stage, and like a specific moment, or was it just a general kind of thing, you know what I mean?
Well, I had horrible stage fright when I first started. I did not come from a performance background. I had done some improv, but was terrified. And so, like, the stand-up without the fourth wall, looking at eyes, it's like I would rather not do that. But I would say about like 7 years, maybe 10 years, 7 years of stage fright, and then maybe 10 years I kind of understood my point of view, maybe. But it really kind of changes. I mean, I do think that, like, one time I was middling for Dave Attell at the DC Improv. I was doing a lot of the inside voice, and it was all working, so that was but like, the DC Improv is a great club, and they paid me money to say that. No, but so, like, there is something, like, there's different steps of where you realize that some of that's working, but I don't know. Yeah, there's different phases.
I find the interesting thing there too, I mean, the bravery of going through 7 years of stage fright, because I think everybody can relate to, stage fright, and most people just think, I won't get on stage, I'm afraid of it. No one would think to themselves, I have this fear. In about 7 years, it'll start to go away. I mean, that's an incredibly brave thing, no matter what the phobic response is.
It's easier in New York because, it's just like, dealing with a store clerk that's rude in New York. You're never going to see that person again.
Right.
So, like, if you're bombing for 7 years in New York, you're not going to see those people again. It's not like you're in a small town and they're like, I saw this guy 3 years ago and he was horrible. It's like a lot of these people have... maybe people remember, but, there's a lot of people that...
Did you ever back off the stage fright thing and think, tonight's the night I can't go up early on, or you just went through it every time?
I really kind of was always motivated by trying a joke, or trying to get over the stage fright, I guess, really. Or, there is a lot of, like, transferring the what makes you funny in everyday life on stage, and hopefully that appeals to people. But yeah, there were a lot of moments where I was like, I gotta have a beer before I go on, and a lot of moments where I was like, I need like 100 beers after. But some of that's just an insane thing. And there's always, it wasn't just 7 years of bombing. There would be like a moment where I would have one good set, and it would be, similar. Stand-up, I think, is very much an addiction. So when you hear about people that are like, it's amazing, after 12 years of being a movie star, this person's doing stand-up, it's like, comedians know, it's like, that's always there. It's this, it's an addiction. It's like, and so, like, I was still seeking that kind of high of when the joke worked, or when I had a good set. So I think that there is something that, it's not just, like, I'm going to get over my stage fright. It was very much like, well, it worked that one time in November.
Yes, ma'am.
I love birthday cake in the office as well. I just want to say that. I saw you on the I Love 70 show, and I was wondering how you prepare for the funny things you say.
Oh, I did that a couple times, and they on those things, they give you like a topic of things that are going to be discussed, and half the time, I've never even heard of some of the stuff. So they'll be like, do you remember this toy? And you're like, I never had that toy. So, if you had that toy, what would your attitude have been on it? And I'm like, I don't know. But that was fun stuff.
Yeah, those shows, it seems like the people who do well on them will just act like they were part of every craze.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you'll see some black guy. We all love quiche. Quiche.
Yeah.
I don't know because quiche was as big as you're letting on right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you did a couple of those, and then that was the end of it, or?
Yeah, I did. I think I did the 70s. I love the 70s, and then, you know, I don't know. I love something
Weren't that
else.
crazy about the 80s?
But, you know, some of it. Well, I think I was also, I didn't want to do too many of those just because I felt like I don't know that much about some of those topics. And you know, it's like, it's a lot of work. You know?
You're not going to really get a lot of time if you're going, I didn't care about a pet rock.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Move on.
It's a lot of work. So.
Michael Ian will be able to say everything for everybody.
Yeah, it's so funny.
What was your favorite commercial campaign that you've done?
The commercial campaigns.
Oh, you know, I tell you, I'm very grateful for commercials. And, you know, they can be really rewarding. I mean, there is kind of like this belief, like, it's like commercials, sell out, corporate whore. Yeah. And it's like, wait a minute, should I do a commercial or should I temp with you at Pepsi?
Right.
You know? But, you know, I did these series of commercials that they were for the Energizer Bunny, where I was dressed up as the Energizer Bunny, or the guy that was going to replace the bunny. This is my ticket. And so you do them, and then you wait, and then they didn't air, and I called the guy, and he's like, yeah, they tested him, and people thought you were a lunatic. So they thought I was like a serial killer. So. But then, like, you know, 10 years later, they're like, we want to put them on YouTube. And I'm like, go ahead. So, but that was the funnest one.
That was the funnest of all?
That was just completely improvising and, you know, being, you know, a lunatic, you know, and, you know, I think we all have voices in our head, you know, or maybe I do, but.
And you only have like 30 seconds, right? And
yeah.
You're improvising most of that stuff?
Yeah, and you know, it's some of it is just they just put you in a scenario, and I think that's what's so fun about commercials is that, and maybe some of it is because I wrote them, but it's like I kind of know what they have to accomplish, and if it is for like a soda, you know, it's like, you know, it's not like I have to say, and it gets out stains, you know. You know, all you have to do is just like not even bring it up and just take a swig of it, and you're like, that's tough. Now give me money, you know.
And with your energy level, 30 seconds is all you can get.
That's all I got. That's all I got.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Gaffigan, let him hear it. Thank you so much.